Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Boxing Coalition. My name is Cam. Joining me tonight, Chemo and Daniel. Hope you guys are well. Before we get into the boxing, let's quickly just talk about our coalition brethren Leon. He celebrated a landmark birthday this week, and the people over at Sky Sports Boxing found out, and they sent over this message.
A cacophony of noise echoing through the arena. Leon, at 39 years of age, attempting to make history in British boxing. And my word, what a classy operator, isn't he, Jim? But he's looking a little bit ragged in there. His legs are gone. His legs are gone. He needs to grab and hold. I'm not sure he's going to make it. And there it is. 40 years of age. A wonderful body shot. Lift off for Leon and catapults himself into superstardom. What a fight! What a night! What an event! But my word, what a salty cunt!
Yes, so happy birthday to the old git, Leon. Chemo, Dan, what's going on, guys?
Man, I'm just happy to be on again and talk about obviously some boxing, but also a certain someone who's revolutionized drug testing in this wonderful sport, and I can't wait to talk about him.
All right, let's just get into this beast of a fight we had this past weekend, Lomachenko versus Linares. I was just watching it with my jaw open, just taking in all the greatness, man. I was loving it, man. What did you think of the fight, Chemo?
Oh, it was an absolute stylish affair, wasn't it? I mean, two dudes who know how to look good in the ring.
And outside the ring.
And outside the ring, yeah.
Linares especially.
Oh yeah, Linares and his beautiful wife are they're a couple that we all aspire to be part of.
Yeah, bagels for sure. Yeah.
But it was a great fight. It lived up to the expectations. For me, it actually exceeded expectations because I'll get to the so-called quit at one point, but until that, I actually thought it was a very even fight. Very closely contested. Linares was definitely in there. He was boxing nicely. I thought he looked fucking massive in the ring, by the way. Just his overall frame, his back, like he looked absolutely jacked up. And he kind of made Lomachenko look small. But Loma was very aggressive. I thought he was, if you compare him to his other fights, I thought he fought a very, very almost pressured type of style. Lots of movement, lots of bombing and weaving, slipping, taking different angles, but all of that was combined with just coming forward relentlessly, hitting him to the body as well. And I thought he looked really good. And again, I want to reiterate a point that I always make with people that are like, oh, but he got hit. Motherfucker, if you fight that aggressively, you are going to get hit. Name me a fighter that has that kind of a style that doesn't get punched in the face occasionally. I think for that type of style, I thought he did really, really well, and I think he came out, pretty much the best he could possibly do. And yes, he got dropped, but why would anybody complain about that? I think it's fantastic that we get to see a guy like him, get put on the canvas, recover really, really well, know how to deal with adversity, and come back and fucking take Linares' soul. Lim, what did you think of it? Because I want to just do a little round table, and then I'll get to the stoppage. But why don't you go first?
I thought it was cool. Cool.
Key.
I mean, I loved it. Are
you high?
I'm actually I have like a nasal infection, so my voice sounds a little bit different, but no, I'm not high, but I just enjoyed the fight, man. I love
the fight.
Kim's mentioned this to me multiple times, and I think I'm starting to admit it entirely. I'm a fan of the build up to the fight. I think I enjoy the build up to the fight more than the actual fight itself. Maybe it's because I've had so many poor experiences at the fights themselves, but Like I was tracking Linares' journey to this fight, so to speak, and it kind of made me remember like the fond feelings I used to have for this guy because when I fought amateur, I trained at the Wild Card, and that was when Linares first moved from Japan to the States, and he was training with Freddie, and Freddie was hyping him up to be Manny Pacquiao's kind of next in line, his protege, so to speak, and he was just he really is like a technical wizard, at least when he was coming up. Like when he was training back in the day at the Wild Card, I've never seen people like somebody with his footwork and his head movement when he was training on the bag or whatever. But obviously, the DeMarco fight took away a lot from that appeal. And, Linares definitely has vulnerabilities. But at the same time, I still thought he was the second best guy at that weight division when he fought Lomachenko. And I was critical of his resume building up to the fight. But I think you saw pretty clearly, to me, Linares was the first guy that was able to respond to Lomachenko's foot movement. Even somebody like Rigondao doesn't have like the quick feet to kind of adjust to Lomachenko's angles. And Linares was the first fighter that I saw actually kind of plan and kind of plan a couple of shots ahead of time how he would react to Lomachenko, feinting or dipping a little bit to his right like he does a lot of times. And I just love seeing that kind of stuff. And I really do believe if this was a younger version of Linares with maybe a little bit quicker feet, he could have made the fight a little bit more interesting. But I just give Lomachenko full props. To me, he's pound for pound number one right now. The guy's won three titles at three different weight classes in his 12th fight, especially with the Salido hiccup. So to see him progress this far, especially in the style that he fights at, being that aggressive and that willing to take chances at 135 is really remarkable. And to me, that's the only way that he can fight at these higher weight classes, because I mentioned this to Cam a couple of times in our private conversations. Lomachenko, to me, doesn't have an ideal body frame to be a boxer. His shoulders aren't very wide. He has fairly short arms. Nothing about him really screams like a traditional boxer type. So he has to utilize his angles and his hand speed when he's fighting bigger guys than him. And I think that's the reason why he was so aggressive. But I love it. I really do think this guy, 2 to 3 years down the line from now, if he continues this pace, you can start making the argument for him, in comparisons to great fighters like, Marquez and even Pacquiao, dare I say. I really think he's that fucking good. I do.
Kimo, I've got a new outlook on life now. If I speak to someone and they tell me they're a boxing fan, and then they also tell me that they're not a fan of Lomachenko, I have to just stop talking to him. How can you not like this guy, man? Like,
are you referring to a certain individual, or are you just
anyone that hates on Lomachenko, basically? He just floats inside the ring. His foot movement, his foot speed, the combinations. I agree with Dan. Like, Linares is probably the only person I've seen that would kind of pivot with Lomachenko. I've not really seen anyone do that before, but the back and forth flow, it was a dominant performance from Lomachenko, but there were times when Linares had started to not only time him but place the punches where Lomachenko was going to be rather than where he was. Like Lomachenko does do that little kind of dip to the his right hand side sometimes, and Linares would just wait for him to come back into the middle, shoot the right hand, which he did when he dropped him. But I just thought Loma did get a bit complacent. As you said, Kimo, over the years, I have noticed a lot more aggression from Loma. Like, if you look maybe a couple of years ago, he would have rounds where he was more on the back foot. He wouldn't really be as aggressive. But now, like, the majority of the rounds, he's the aggressor. He's on the front foot. He's throwing the combination punches. And it's just so good to watch, man. Like, especially against Linares, where you can see that he's not just thinking about the first phase of attack. He's thinking about what's going to happen in the second phase and what's going to happen in the third. And it just looks so easy to him, even though he does get hit, and he maybe becomes a bit complacent. It doesn't matter, because it just adds to the value of the fight. Like, if it was too dominant, then it'd just be boring. The fact that he's getting caught, he's getting hit, it just makes it a better experience as a fight fan. And yeah, I just loved it, man. When I was watching it live as well, the thing about Linares, you saw him maybe take the punch, watch Loma pivot, he would pivot with him and try and run the right hand counter, man. It was enjoyable. Probably one of the best technical fights I've watched. Just very high level skill.
Yeah. Linares stayed very calm as well. He doesn't seem to get flustered by the movement and the different angles. I think that's one of the key differences as well between the other guys. Like you would see it with other dudes that stand in front of him. They just don't know what to do. Like either they don't see the punches coming or they get overwhelmed with the pressure and the angles. Linares, relatively speaking, stays calm, right? He doesn't waste a lot of movement. He's very economical with just taking those little steps and pivots, but he was very much in control. And even though he would lose some of the rounds, you know, he was always in the fight. And that brings me as well to the stoppage, which I thought was very strange. Like, I don't score fights anymore. I really don't give a shit about that sort of stuff. But I can imagine that most people had it very close going in. Unless it's maybe Nauta who had it like, you know, 7 rounds or whatever to Linares. But most people, I think, realized it was a close fight. And you're in decent shape Linares-wise, right? Like he's been in much deeper shit than this in terms of, you know, the way he looked in his face, any cuts that were going on. Yes, he was a little bit banged up, but, you know, we've seen him way worse and hang in there. And then he gets dropped and he just kind of, I don't know, he kind of gets up, but at the same time he doesn't. He just leans over and it just looks weird. And then the ref stops it and there doesn't seem to be any protest and he just doesn't look like he wants to continue. I found it a very strange situation, and I don't know, man. I was really disappointed. Like, you even showed that you had the power to drop the guy. Like, why are you just fucking giving up like this?
Yeah,
I thought it was a great fight up to that point, but I feel like Linares kind of had the potential to turn this into maybe a classic, and he just kind of bitched out a little bit. It's just a bit disappointing, man.
No,
I always thought he was a blood and guts guy, but he just shied away from it all now.
No, I felt the same at the time. I was texting Dan, and just as the stoppage happened, I texted him #Lomachenko because I thought that's another guy that's just quit, and I can understand. I don't want to say I understand, but I realised that, you know, if guys are getting schooled like Nicholas Walters was and Rigondeaux was, then the guys took your heart away from you. But Linares was in the fight. He dropped him. He was having more success than probably anyone else has really had against Lomachenko. And it just seemed that like it was a bit of a quit. And then afterwards, they were talking about rematches. I'm thinking, well, you quit in this fight, so what's the point of having a rematch? I'd rather see a fresh fight with Lomachenko face someone else.
Yeah, I mean, the rematch, no, not when you finish the fight like that. I don't understand why you would bring it up. Maybe that's just trying to save face or whatever, but I didn't understand the situation when I watched it, Cam. I've seen people get dropped, you know, and then you can see that they're clearly in pain or they're out or whatever, and they try to make it to their feet, and then the ref realizes they're in fucking deep shit and he stops the fight, you know. But this was kind of in between. Like, it's like, okay, I understand he's hurt, but he was able to get to his feet, so why the fuck doesn't he at least try to continue? Like, it just makes no sense to me, man. I really don't understand it. Like, he's a defending champion. You're just gonna go out like that? I don't know. I really don't understand. I haven't watched many post-fight interviews. I don't know if he did many or if any, but you know, I'd like to know what his explanation is for that, because it makes no sense to me. It really doesn't. Have you seen any quotes from him afterwards as to explain how badly hurt he was or why he wasn't able to continue? Like, it's just weird.
No, I didn't really search for any, to be honest. But I know Lim's a Linares fanboy, so maybe he's got some secrets to reveal. You see anything?
Nah, bro. I just block out all the hate, bro. I don't have time for the hate.
But were you not disappointed, Lim, in this?
No, I was. Absolutely, I was. But I guess, again, like, I'm such a bloody casual, mate, that the fact that the fight was so good it just kind of like made me want to block off that side of the equation, so to speak. So, yeah, I mean, it's totally nonsensical for Lomachenko's team to grant him a rematch, especially considering the fact that he performed the way he did. And Loma's only going to get better, obviously. I mean, we've never seen Loma have to rematch somebody, but he strikes me as the kind of guy who is just so laser focused in on his game plan that any kind of adjustments that can be made will be made twicefold in a rematch. So I don't want to see a rematch. Linares is definitely getting up there in age, and I'm just curious to see how he decides to end kind of like the final phase of his career.
Yeah. Quickly before we move off this fight, Kimo, you asked me to remind you about round 8 and Lomachenko's jab.
Yeah, man. It was. I don't know. The fight was still. I mean, it was classy, wasn't it? I mean, that's the point I thought really where Lomachenko started running away from him, like in terms of how competitive the fight was, because all of a sudden he starts jabbing with, and I mean, he's used it before, obviously, but he started connecting with it very strongly, and it was a thudding jab. Very snappy at the same time as well, and you could see Linares. I don't know, he was just getting pushed back. His head was being snapped backwards. It was just a really fucking solid jab. I don't think I've really seen it to that extent from Loma. Sometimes, he strikes me more as a guy who just fires combinations off movement, but this was more of a traditional approach where he just had a fucking piston of a jab and just walked him down. I thought it was very impressive, man. Very fucking impressive. He could have kept on connecting with it, and that's when it all went downhill for Linares from there. And I don't know, Lomachenko just showed good instinct as well. He cut him at one point, and he kept on fucking going back at that cut as well. He's a mean dude, man. We always seem to strike him as some sort of finesse fighter, but he's a mean motherfucker in there. He will try to take a guy out. Again, I can't reiterate more. I was really surprised by his aggressiveness in this fight. I've never seen him fight like that before, and I loved it. And obviously, he's done his homework. Obviously, he understood that, this guy is a terrific boxer, but he's vulnerable, and I'm gonna exploit those weaknesses by just putting the pressure on him.
Yeah,
really impressive stuff, man.
Lim, at the time of the stoppage, you said you were so impressed with the way he threw that kind of left hand and got it into that position, because it's such an unorthodox punch.
Yeah. This is gonna sound like extreme hyperbole, but I really think Lomachenko just fights differently and thinks differently than how traditional kind of trainers teach their fighters how to fight. Like, I rarely ever see guys throw their body shots at that angle the way Lomachenko did to stop Linares. Errol Spence is one guy who does it, where he throws it kind of like, if you look at it from the fighter's back, it looks like they're throwing an uppercut.
Yeah.
But they're able to somehow twist their wrist just at the last moment to twist it right into their liver shot.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's just so beautiful to me. I love watching fighters like throw different angled shots. And, Lomachenko, like, again, this is going to sound like hyperbole, but like with his jab, for example, like in the first kind of 6 rounds of the fight, he threw it kind of as a rangefinder. And so that Linares would have trouble seeing what shots kind of would come afterwards. And yet he was able to transition it into a piston-like jab, like Kimo mentioned in the 8th round. But then when he got that body shot stoppage, he used it again as kind of like as a patty pat, stay busy type of punch to get that left hook behind it. And I love it, man. Like, I love watching this dude train. And I do wonder, 5, 10, 20 years down the road, if trainers are going to start utilizing fighters' athleticism more to create angles the way Lomachenko does, rather than having everybody fight in the same kind of traditional European manner, which is pretty much the norm if you go to any boxing gym right now here in the States, or anywhere for that matter.
Yeah, to your point, I rewatched the fight again today, and it just looked like Loma was going to kind of throw overhand left, and like the last minute, like you said, he just turned it and just landed it beautifully, just underneath the armpit of Linares, man. It was a beautiful shot. But
because honestly, like, footwork and angles are things that like boxing trainers really don't teach all that much. Like if you see boxers, the reason why like boxers compare to other athletes, like why they're not that athletic is just because when you train boxing, nothing about it really is kind of athleticism dependent all that much. So, there's fighters obviously out there with tremendous footwork. And again, I wonder if there's going to be a new wave of fighters who, really focus on the lower body movement to set up the punches up top. It'll be fascinating, Cam. That's all I'm trying to say.
Deeply fascinating.
I'm very curious. I'm serious. I'm not even trolling right now. Like, there's so many different ways to set up punches and shots just by moving your foot, a half inch to your right or to your left, and so many fighters don't do that.
Yeah. All this praise we've heaped upon Lomachenko, I do have a negative. It did kind of happen after that Salido fight. Every infraction, him and his team are pointing it out to the ref. I think at one point the ref didn't even see something and he just believed Lomachenko and then give Linares a warning. I think that has to stop, man. It's a bit diva-esque, and I understand rabbit punches are illegal, and that part of the back of your head is very sensitive and shit. But let the ref do his job.
Yeah, he's a bit of a cunt, but I like it though.
I
like that feistiness.
I think it's a bit bitchy, man.
To be honest, I didn't even notice it during the fight, man.
I did. That one was really obvious, but I like Loma. I like his mean streak.
Yeah,
and I love the way that whenever they're clinched, Loma exerts so much energy trying to get out of the clinch. By doing the when his shoulders are up in the air, he really tugs it down. I love that shit. And shout out to Venom MMA for sponsoring our boy Linares, Chemo. Did you notice that?
I noticed
he had
that.
Venom gloves and Venom shoes.
Wearing fucking MMA gloves, man.
Well, I was saying to Lynn that Boohoo Man, that's actually a company that's based in Manchester, so I don't know how that hookup happened.
Fucking shite, mate.
Yeah, they jinxed him, man. That's what happened.
Terrible.
But staying on Lomachenko, what's the future? Next few fights, Chemo, does he stay at 135, pick up an easy belt at 40, go back to 130? What do you foresee?
I don't know, man. Like I want to see Loma in massive fights, but I just don't really see anybody apart from one guy who's moved up, obviously, which is Mikey Garcia.
Who's moving back down?
That's not true. He's fighting Easter.
Wait, what? Is that signed?
Yeah, it's pretty much close to set. Yeah, they're even announcing the undercard soon.
What do you mean close to set? Is it signed or not, or is this your sources that are telling
you? No. It's not signed yet, but he is fighting at 135 in his next fight for sure because he relinquished the 140-pound IBF belt that he just won from Lipinets.
Okay.
Obviously, and if you're not retarded, then you would know that he's fighting at 135 next.
Well, we all know I'm a fucking retard anyway. But
no. I'm just trying to be a cunt.
Yeah, you're just being a dick. It's all good. It's all good.
I know you like it.
Yeah, but to be honest, that's the only fight that kind of is sexy to me. I can't really think of any other fight. We could talk about going even lower to fight Tank Davis, but we all know that shit is never gonna fucking happen, right? So, what is ultimately the most realistic, makeable fight? I'd say Mikey Garcia.
Yeah, so Ring just posted a couple of days ago that Garcia Easter Jr. agreed a deal for July 28th unification title fight in Los Angeles.
That's not bad, but I think Easter's getting fucked up, man.
Of course, I agree.
Easter's shit.
All wrong for him.
But there's also a very strong indication that Lomachenko is fighting Ray Beltran for his title at 135 at the Forum in August. They already reserved the Forum for an August date for Lomachenko, so.
Yeah, I love Ray, but that's
your boy's gonna get brain damage from that.
Oh no, of course, I know he is, and I know they're both kind of like not very good fights. But don't get me wrong, Garcia versus Easter is a better fight. But at the same time, like even despite the promotional differences, if both fighters, have two titles, it's really difficult to not make that fight. Well,
the good thing is Mikey Garcia, in terms of promotion, is kind of in no man's land, right? So.
Yeah.
It's a makeable fight. I don't see any political obstacles in this case.
Fair, but Aram and Mikey have a tenuous relationship, to say it at least. So we're very kind of fractured, and malevolent relationship.
Well, yeah, Mikey feels like he kind of fucked him over in his career, right? But I don't know if that, I don't know, is that really going to prevent him from making a fight for a lot of money? I think Mikey just wants to make money. So if the offer's good, I think he'll take it. I don't think he's, I think he's in this strictly as a fucking businessman. That's why he came back. He wants to make some fucking money. So, and he thinks he's being a genius by going out on his own with this. So,
right, which is exactly why I'm afraid the fight might not happen. Is Arum trying to kind of, take over the promotional reins and offering like a set, purse, and that has to be split between the two. Whereas Mikey thinks he's some kind of fucking, startup entrepreneur or some bullshit like that, and thinks he deserves more than that. So that to me is the difficulty, and where it lies. So, but yeah, it's the fight to be made. Absolutely.
Cam, do you think there's any other fight that kind of interests you apart from that? I mean, I don't see anything else, to be honest.
I disagree with you. I wouldn't mind seeing the Tank Davis fight. I think Loma could make 130 easy. I do think he'd win the fight, but I won't mind the Burchelt fight just to shut Naoto up, because if his boy Burchelt gets dominated, then, Naoto ain't got nothing to say.
Dude, last time I checked, Burchelt was fighting in Monterey or in Cancun. Like in front of some fat Westerners, some Corona bar or some shit like that. Seriously, when I was in Mexico, I was just looking at my phone and I was looking up, fights in Mexico, and Burchelt popped up. So that's the thing about Loma, man, is that Loma is so damn good that, people who criticize him, they constantly move the goalpost after every single one of his fights. So it's a situation where you can never win because they constantly move that shit. I know Chemo loves the National Football League, American football, that is. So they'll move the yard line. They move the sticks exactly from the 20-yard line to the 30-yard line and then to the 32-yard, and then they'll move it by inches, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But my only hope is that what I'm really curious about Lomachenko is how fresh his legs are and how much longer he can pull off his physical kind of movement and activity within the ring.
I would like to see him go down in weight, though, despite the biggest fight being against Mikey Garcia. If I just look at it purely from a size perspective, I thought he was very undersized in this fight, and that's going to come back to haunt him eventually. Especially if you fight in that kind of style. It already could have gone very bad, with that knockdown. I thought Linares, by the way, I forgot to mention this. He fucking bitched out after he fucking dropped him, man. What was that? Like, you drop the guy, you finally have the momentum swinging towards your favor, and then he just kind of just sat back and let him recover. Like, that was very, very disappointing. I like Linares, but he kind of shit the bed in this fight, man. I don't know.
I know, man, but I love Linares so much, man. Like, his appreciation for Japanese culture and, the Taiken gym. And, bro, Linares is so fly, man. When he's working out, he's just decked in Nike gear from head to toe, and it's just beautiful to watch him train, man.
You know what was beautiful to watch? Fucking De La Hoya's reaction to the knockdown.
Yes.
With his bloodshot eyes.
High.
I love it.
He was so fucking high. Coked up skills. I love it. The dude's a savage, bro. You just got to make sure that Michel Linares wasn't anywhere nearby, because he would have tried to poach that egg for sure, too, bro.
He would have grabbed her by the you-know-what.
I know. But she's a lawyer. She's a rider. Guy. She's a rider, too. Yeah, I'm hitting that shout. Man. But, yeah, any very early predictions on Lomachenko versus Mikey? Again, that's how good Lomachenko is. Like, we're comparing him to the best dude at one lightweight right away after being the second best guy.
I think Mikey's too big, too solid. I think he punches too hard as well.
That's the kind of conversation that I had with Cam, is that Mikey just, to me, he's such a plotter in the best way. And I mean that in the best way possible. Like, Mikey is such a, like, if you had a bottom bitch, but who just like did everything perfect, that's Mikey to me. He throws 4 punches. He throws them exceptionally well. But to me, the concern is that, does he have the foot movement and the wherewithal to be able to respond to Lomachenko's angles? Because I've never seen Mikey have to adjust to a fighter. He just fights his pace, and he's so good that wins him the majority of his fights. But what happens when he has to fight somebody who can present him multiple different looks? And again, Mikey's not a very good inside fighter. I rarely have ever seen Mikey throw any good combinations on the inside.
Yeah, but Loma is not that much of an inside fighter, man. Most of the work he does is kind of at mid-range. I think Mikey has a lot of opportunities to catch him. He's not a traditional, he hops in and then he'll throw a couple of body shots. But a lot of the time he's in that mid-range, man. Like, he's not a pure inside fighter, by no means. So I think Mikey is calm enough and poised enough to just, take those little steps, adjust, and just fire that fucking cannon of a right hand he's got, man. And the thing is, like, I believe that at lightweight, I think he's a fucking murderous puncher, and he will catch Loma at one point. And I'm not quite sure, given the size difference, what's going to happen when somebody like Mikey Garcia connects with him a few times, man. That's going to be difficult. That changes the entire fight, right?
It does. I personally think Lomachenko's got a really good chin. He squared up a bit when Linares caught him, and Linares is not the biggest puncher, but he, like I said before, he did get complacent. I don't think you'd see a complacent Lomachenko against Mikey. I think he'd be very safety first. He won't be as aggressive. And I think eventually, I love Mikey, man. But I've said in the past, he's very good at what he does, but he's quite basic. But he's like excellent at being basic, and I just don't think he's got enough skill to kind of deal with Lomachenko. Personally,
no, I think it's a 50-50 fight. I do.
I'd say 60-40, Mikey.
Mm-hmm. And then you'd be the outlier, and you'd be totally right to have that opinion. But most people would favor Lomachenko in a very close fight.
I'm not comparing the styles exactly, but this fight kind of reminds me a little bit of Pacquiao Marquez. It's somebody who's very calm, who's a good counterpuncher, who has the fundamentals down, who can deal with that kind of in and out athletic style. I kind of feel like it's the same way, and that doesn't mean that it's going to be a one-sided fight. Obviously, even Pac Marquez was always very close. So I see a close fight, but I just think the size and the power and the fundamentals are going to get it done in this fight.
Kimo, quickly, Shams earlier asked about what do we think of the commentary. I know
it was amazing.
You're in the fan club of Mark Kriegel, Kimo.
Oh my lord, it's mate. I just find it so disgusting that there's limited opportunities, obviously, for getting a job in boxing, right? But I just find it so disgusting that a fucking guy like that is on ESPN spewing the kind of horse shit that comes out of his mouth. It's really pathetic. He has nothing to say that of any value. All he fucking does is do these interviews, and then he feels like he's been in the training camp. Like he says, when I was in camp with Lomachenko, they were talking about Mr. Honda all the time. And when Mr. Honda would come in, the whole room would go quiet, and Mr. Honda would give him tips. What the fuck are you talking about? Honestly, like, this guy has no added value. He probably has the Wikipedia page open in front of him, and he pretends like he's, we have Timothy Bradley for the technical analysis. Let me give some insight on the lifestyle and the struggles that every guy has dealt with. Shut the fuck up, man. Honestly, we can Cam. We should put you on the airwaves.
They are ready.
They're not ready for me, bro. But
anybody, even Black Ski Mask Joe, would do a better job.
But bro, I love Timmy, but I thought Timmy was pretty shit as well.
In what sense?
Just like
he was shit, man. Come on, dude. If Kriegel was dick gobbling, him and Tessitore were dick gobbling Lomachenko on like an A+ level, and Timmy was sucking him on an A- level. Timmy was shite too, mate. But Timmy was shit too, bro. You think Timmy's a good commentator?
I don't think he's a spectacular commentator. I think he's got a lot of work to do in terms of improvement. But
you think he's good?
I think he can. I think he has a lot of potential. I like his voice, and I like when he gets technical. But
sure,
he has to. It's a learning process, man. Like, he's a boxer, Like, people underestimate how difficult commentating is, and I think he has some potential for sure. I think he's one of the better boxer commentators that I've heard. I mean, I was watching King Rai. We'll get to the other later on, and listening to Bernard Hopkins. Holy fuck, that was dreadful as well. That was painful.
Yeah, it is, mate.
I think Bradley has potential, but he's not surrounded by people that bring the best out of him. I'm sorry.
The thing is, you said you enjoy his technical, but I don't think he gets that technical. Like, I'm not saying I know more than Timmy, but like I notice things that he doesn't even mention. I'm thinking, well, Timmy, you should really mention that, man. Like, you're the technical dude. You're the guy that boxed.
I think at the same time he has to be a top rank stand at the end of the day. So
yeah, of course.
I do think he has to navigate through that, and I agree with Kimo. I do like his voice. I do like his persona. So
I think he's got a good radio voice. Let me put it that. He's got a good broadcasting voice. Yeah, and
sure.
Cam, when I say technical, I don't mean that he like gets like super. Again, I don't want to give this guy credit, but Malignaggi tends to go quite deep into the technicalities, right? As far as commentators go, even though I fucking hate him. I don't think Tim speaks a lot on the broadcast. I would like to hear him speak more. I find that he gets a bit drowned out by other bullshit. You know, I want to see him open up more and just go for it. I feel like there's more there. But yeah.
I'd rather see his dad on the commentary team. He'd be like, what's that I smell? I smell pussy.
Yeah, his
Get
dad's
him,
a legend.
Lomachenko.
But yeah, he's no Chael Sonnen or Frank Mir ahead of him, that's for sure.
Or Maro. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, are we done on Lomachenko? Do you guys want to talk about Undercard?
We're gonna talk more about him.
Huh?
Go for it, Kimo. You're gonna say something?
I was just gonna say, man, like to all the fucking haters out there, like
you were kind of one of them, right?
I was one of them, man. I was a critic. I was a very skeptical.
That's not true. That's not fair, baby. You weren't a true critic per se. You just had reservations, whereas me and Cam were much more enthused about his presence.
Well, to me, like I get convinced by grit and fucking determination, and you know the way that you dominate somebody. I always thought that Lomachenko was a very fantastic guy to watch, but I hadn't seen him do anything really, really impressive versus opposition where I'm thinking like, okay, well, this is some next level shit. When I was watching this fight, I thought, wow, this is some fucking next level shit. Like that eighth round, man, I thought I was watching something special. And it was against a big dude who is skilled, who is flawed, but, like, come on, man, like, give the guy some credit. He's moving up in weight again, and you can evidently see the fucking size difference. I think we forget sometimes, despite all the belt grabbing and stuff like that, stuff that Pacquiao has done in the past as well, you can't underestimate how difficult it is to fight somebody much bigger, man. And I thought there was an apparent size advantage. And we've seen like guys like Pacquiao do that against, a guy like Joshua Clottey, and then a lot of people are dismissing it. But it's like, dude, he's doing something that 95% of other boxers cannot do. So give the guys credit.
Yeah. Him versus Manny would have been such an incredible fight.
Imagine.
Just lightweight? Because of it doesn't matter. Lightweight, 130, shit, even featherweight.
I'm talking packet lightweight, dude. He was a fucking it was a
just because they do kind of like remind me a little bit of each other in the sense that Pacquiao has just like that freakish raw athletic ability, whereas Loma's a little bit more refined in his output, but still has incredible angles. Like that would have just been a fucking dog war. But yeah, anyways, I'd love to see him fight Mikey for unification. I think that'd be so amazing, and it's a fight that we need, man.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that could potentially be on pay-per-view?
No, I don't want it to be on pay-per-view. These guys don't draw. I know you.
But it makes you think, like, if Ward versus Kovalev was pay-per-view, would you not give this the opportunity to do pay-per-view?
I think that was only because of Ward's connection to HBO, right? I mean, was that really a pay-per-view based on actual, star power or drawing power? Like, how many pay-per-views did that do? Like 40K or something?
No, it did 150. Postal Crawford did 50, I think. Yeah.
Oh, Lord. But yeah, he's got the bay behind him, bro. Like, at least Loma doesn't have the bay, so I don't know. I don't give a shit. I just want the fight.
Me too. I want the fight.
Come down for that.
Would you? Yeah, I guess so. It is a really
You
spectacular.
wouldn't get raped for like ticket prices for sure, and it's an exciting fight. There'll be tension in the building.
Oh, most definitely.
It's the type of fight where like any second things can go fucking 180. Like in terms of the momentum. Like that anytime Mikey connects, shit will go fucking wrong. And Mikey, by the way, is a vulnerable guy as well. Like he's been wilting a little bit under pressure as well. Yeah, he's been dropped. He's been a little bit shady in terms of his ability to deal with pressure. It's a great fight. It really, really is, and it's stylistically it's fantastic.
And we talk all this stuff about Mikey, but honestly, he's had one fight at 135 since he's returned. He's had one fight in lightweight, period. He had one guy he fought at like 140 or 135. I'm not quite sure. He was fighting a junior lightweight in that fight in his return. And then he fought Zlaticanin. And then he fought AB. And then he fought Lipinets. So
yeah, he did beat AB, though, man. That's quite an accomplishment.
He did. He beat him 12-0. So yeah, I'm done, Kim. That's it for me, man.
Kim, you got anything else regarding Undercard? It was pretty shitty Undercard, to be honest.
No, man. Just shout out to Michaela Meyer. If you guys don't know who she is, look her up. She's fucking fine as hell. No, seriously, she's beautiful. Like, she's fucking gorgeous. Shout out to my boy Teofimo Lopez, a lightweight fighting out of Las Vegas, originally from the BK 718. I've known this dude for quite some time. He's Honduran. He's a good prospect. And he was trending on Twitter because when he knocked out his opponent, he did a Fortnite dance. So he's one of those up-and-coming goons, so to speak. But that's my boy, man.
All right. Nice. Kimo, let's talk about a card on the same night in Turning Stone Resort and Casino. Saddam Ali looked very small against Haye Munguia, man. What did you think of that beatdown?
Well, it was kind of sad to watch, wasn't it? A much smaller guy facing an absolute, massive dude in the ring, who had literally no chance. I mean, if you would not know the background to how this fight got made, like you would think that this is just a really bad mismatch and that Saddam Ali has a really shitty promoter who's putting him in a fight that he can't win. I mean, the size difference was just so apparent. He got hurt almost every time Munguia connected. It was just a beatdown. And, stoppage was... I don't know, man. I feel like they could have even stopped it a bit earlier. I mean, it was funny because Munguia almost seemed to laugh at Ali's punches as well. Like, Ali hit him quite a few times flush, and he was just like, whatever, bro. Like, I'm just going to walk forward and fuck you up. Yeah, whatever, bro.
How do you say that in Spanish?
I don't know, bro. I only know
whatever, hermano.
I only know Canelo quotes, bro.
Okay, Miera.
But it's sad, man. I felt kind of bad, and they kept on going to his fucking dad as well with the camera, like watching him get fucked, watching his son get fucked up. Like, what? Why? Jesus Christ. Yeah. Wasn't very. And Ali's a good guy, like he doesn't really deserve to go out like that, but it is what it is.
It's all Miguel Cotto's fault.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have fake people hold fake titles and fake weight classes.
Yeah.
Fucking Miguel Cotto.
I actually think Ali should go back down because...
Of course
you should. Really?
What the fuck? He has no business.
He should stay at 154? I think you should fight Jermell Charlo next game.
Yeah.
Fantastic fight. And then he can fight Hearn after that. And then he can rematch Munguia, and we can call it the brain damage tour.
I think Charlo would literally murder him. Literally.
No, but
he'll fucking devour him like a gazelle. You know
to your point, Kim, I do think the ref wanted to stop it, and it was his corner and team that were insisting him carry on. I think between the third and the fourth, the ref went over and he was like, "Yo, you need to stop this," and they overrid him, or the doctor overrid him, I think. But the apparent size difference, the fact that every shot that was landing on Ali was visibly shaking in him, and the stuff that he was landing on Munguia was just bouncing off him. So I've never seen Munguia before. Obviously, he was, kind of his name was thrown into the hat when the fallout of Canelo Golovkin happened, and Nevada State was it Nevada State rejected him and.
Against Golovkin.
Yeah, they eventually chose Matarosian, but yeah, man, as a 154 pounder, he's absolutely huge. And I think you said to me over the weekend, Lim, that you'd love to see him versus Hearn.
Yeah, Munguia
that'd be
versus
a
Hearn.
war.
But to tell you the truth, if you're Munguia's promoters, I think he's promoted by Sanford Promotions, you need to build this guy up. Because first of all, he has absolutely no name whatsoever. His previous fights were all in Mexico. So just, this is the one occasion where I'd be okay with the champion kind of building himself up to a small extent, but I would definitely want to see him in there against a title unification fight after two to three fights.
I just want to know if he's family of Mario Munguia from the Boxing Boys, man.
I know. That's what I was thinking too, man. They're both brawly as fuck, bro. Mario Munguia had those fucking gains, son. He used to bench press like 400 pounds, so... They're both savages in their own right.
He did have a good deadlift game. I'll give him that.
Yeah. But the thing about Munguia is that you always have to have fear with a cross-eyed boxer. Munguia has that of mice and men strength. That Lenny of mice and men who just kill rabbits without even noticing. And to quote my favorite movie ever, Jack, Uncle Jack, that retard strength is just on another level, bro. You cannot deal with that retard power. It just comes at you and you don't know what hits you.
Mm-hmm. So Amali found that out.
Yeah. Kimo, you were saying, matchmaking-wise, I spoke to Lim on the weekend. He was like, he thought that Munguia was maybe next in line for the WBO belt. But I don't think that's true, Lim. Like, from what I was reading and in the post-fight, it seemed that I think Munguia had like a WBO Latino belt at 154. But
what is the Latino belt? What is that supposed to be?
That's just a WBO for you, bro. But I do think he was offered Saddam Ali was offered this name, and his team didn't maybe research him enough. And he did mention in his post fight also that Ramadan was coming up, and I think he just wanted to fight and get Ramadan out of the way. And I
heard that too. Kim.
I don't think he wanted.
I was laughing my ass off at that comment.
I don't think he wanted to delay the fight.
So I'm just gonna get this ass whooping just so I don't have to train during Ramadan. Like, okay, like who the fuck?
I'm just not over the Latino belt, bro. Is there a Gook belt as well?
Come on, dude. I own that shit. Fucking unified at every weight division with that belt, bro.
I bet Abe is the fucking sanctioning body for that belt. Shout out to El Camino.
El Camino Electric.
Yeah, Cam, when are we going to have our little 1 minute tidbit during our shows where we give a shout out to our sponsors? El Camino Electrical Services, bro.
You can give Abe a shout out if you want. We haven't got any sponsors, but I don't mind doing freebies for my boy Abe.
Dude, we're sponsored by Baker Nation, bro.
Nike headbands and fucking short shorts, 5 inches or shorter. So,
all right.
I love how Kimo is hearting this show consecutively on Mixler. It's like he hearted it twice in the span of 3 seconds. So that's the support that we have.
You gotta support, man.
Limmy, bringing it back to you. Undercard of Ali versus Munguia had one of your wild...
You didn't even let me talk about the fight, bro.
What do you want to talk about? You got beat up, that's it.
BoxingCoalition.com.
No, but even if you don't do the research, if you're Golden Boy, how on earth do you do such a shite job of scouting this guy? Right? Because it's like one of those situations where I think Liam pulled out fairly kind of late enough during the process where you can avoid the fight, right? With all things considered, with Ramadan and whatnot, it's like, why would you have a belt just to kind of lose it immediately if you're Saddam Ali?
Yeah.
It's insane to me, man.
You wanted the cheddar, bro.
No, but think about it. It's really fucking stupid. Like, he could have, he could have waited or just figured out a way to, just cash out that belt to somebody. Like, come on, man. He could have gone to in UK or something, get paid handsomely. And
exactly.
Why would you have leverage? Like, why would you just give it away to fucking Mario Munguia's brother like that? I don't understand.
I was surprised that they even chose Liam at first. I thought they would take Kell Brook.
Liam was mandatory.
Massive fight. Oh, mandatory. I got you.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
still, I actually have heard a couple of what do you call it, like conspiracy theories, and Shams 1000 in the chat. Shout out to Shams. Said that Golden Boy had options on Munguia, so they were essentially sacrificing Saddam Ali to get options on Munguia, and that's somewhat plausible. But Munguia is such an unknown entity, even at this point, that nobody's clamoring for him. And like, do you guys can you guys see yourself, or can you guys see Munguia becoming some household name at junior middleweight? Just because of the fact that he's Mexican, because there's Gilberto Ramirez who fights at 168. And he's a Mexican title holder, and he hasn't done shite.
He doesn't really fight like a Mexican, though. I think Munguia, is if they can kind of build a fan base behind him, I think he's more promotable.
I gotta see him against other opposition, man. I can't really judge his potential based on beating up a welterweight.
That's a good point. That's a fair point.
I just don't know how good he is. This is the first time I've seen him. I don't know about you guys, but I've never seen him fight before, and you know, I can't really judge based on this. Yeah, he's fun to watch from what I've seen, but
sure.
You know, he could easily get fucking slept by somebody else. I really don't know. I gotta see his potential and see how talented he really is. But yeah, he could be something. Obviously, if he, you know, if he becomes truly successful with his background. But I think we gotta see. But it's nice to know that at least we have somebody kind of exciting to watch in the division.
Yeah. No, I actually, the more that I think about it, I do kind of buy that kind of conspiracy theory, because if I'm Golden Boy, I do think, like, if I were able to trade off Saddam Ali or Jamie Munguia, you know, 21-year-old Mexican unbeaten prospect, I'd probably take my chances. No, I'm serious. You know, Saddam Ali is, all things considered, he's just, I mean, the guy was fighting in Verona, New York, for fuck's sake. You know, that's like in the back alleys of nowhere in New York, in the suburbs, and that's where he's from. You know, he's from Brooklyn, and he can't even draw in his own state. So,
we'll talk about drawing in their own states in a minute.
Let's do it.
Cam,
who are you gonna mention?
No, I was clearly hinting that when we talk about Danny Jacobs, we need to have a little chat about his drawing power. But let's move down your schedule.
Yeah, just quickly, Lim's stablemate from the wild card was on the undercard. Ovanesian for Ray Vargas for Ray's 122 WBC belt. Pretty fun fight, Lim.
Yeah, but super sloppy. You know, Azad is a gym warrior. He's the kind of dude who leaves it all out in sparring, and he's just never going to be world level. He's too small. He's not technical enough. And Ray Vargas is ginormous. I don't know how the fuck that guy makes weight.
That's fucking crazy, isn't it, how big he is?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I was impressed with the Ovanesian in the first 6 rounds. I was amazed how Ray didn't really keep him at arm's length. He was kind of jumping in with the left hooks and the right hands, and he was catching Ray Vargas quite easily, I thought, and I was surprised. I thought, like, why are you letting this little guy just, like, close off the distance so easily? But eventually, I think Ovanesian slowed down a bit, and Ray started to box him a bit. There was some really bad head clashes. I think Ray got 2 cuts above both eyes eventually. But first 6-7 rounds were fun. It did slow down and get sloppy, but not a bad fight. Kimo, I did forget to mention this to you yesterday, so you might not have watched it. Did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it, mate.
No problem.
Yeah.
You got anything else to say?
You're not missing anything.
Anything else?
No. I'm good, mate.
Rest of the undercard, they didn't really show anything televised-wise, so either of you want to talk about Haye Fury? He fought Sam Sexton for the British title. I did see him kind of sitting down on his right hand a bit more than we've seen him in the past, so a bit more aggressive. That's all I really got to say, to be honest. Sexton's not really a world beater, so...
No, I just think it's a good way to, you know, sustain the talk of boxers with horrendous body acne. We had Jorge Linares, we had Haye Fury. We'll talk about Jesse Vargas. So, yeah, boxers are bringing back that look that nobody asked for.
Fuck you or Fury, don't care.
All right, let's talk about the Haye Bellew card. The headline itself,
yes!
I've got nothing to say, but the undercard was pretty interesting. So have you guys got anything regarding Haye Bellew itself?
What do you mean you have nothing to say, bro?
I hate fucking both of them, man. And Bellew won again. You know, he's got 2 wins over David Haye on his resume. That's an L for me.
You should just give Bellew credit where it's due, man. Like he's done it again, man.
Yeah, bro.
At heavyweight, he beat a legend of British boxing. Send him into retirement.
You know what, guys? I don't have much to say about the fight itself, other than that Bellew showed off a masterclass performance. But I'm just super hyped for him versus Adonis Stevenson at 195. I think that's a fantastic fight. So if that fight ever happens, sign me up, please.
It is an atrocious situation though, where, you know, let's face it, Haye, I mean, he's got nothing left. Like he just looks fucking terrible, and somehow, you know, this has transitioned into Bellew just getting so much fucking credit and just being out there as a almost a mainstream guy now in the UK. What can I say, Cam? It's baffling. I can't really wrap my head around it, but I don't know. I feel like, you know, Bellew after the Makabu win, I gave him a lot of credit. I thought that was a really good performance, you know, and he showed some really, really good aggressiveness and just grit, you know, whereas in other fights he's usually just kind of bitched out and, you know, never really went for the kill, just stay on his back foot while he was getting outclassed, especially at light heavy. And then at cruiserweight, there seems to be kind of a facade where he's saying, oh, he's got his power and he looks pudgy and all of that. But then he does the job, you know, fighting a legit guy, and he becomes a champion, and it's a great story. But now he just gets sucked into this whole Haye drama, and it's just a bunch of talk over very little substance. You know, both fights just weren't very good. People act like it's a fucking war, you know, like in the mainstream, and it wasn't. And the second fight was a bit shit as well. Yeah, you get to see Haye get dropped pretty nicely, but that's about it. You know, you're not going to get much satisfaction out of that. I think we all fantasized about, you know, the old David Haye, you know, landing an absolute haymaker, no pun intended, on Bellew and putting him out. But, you know, looking at what kind of state Haye was in, that was never really going to happen. I mean, he has no legs left. Absolute zero. And it looked like he was injured again in the second fight. So, yeah, it was another disaster. But I think at the end of the day, we all watched it, right? So shame on us. I did, unfortunately.
I did too, but I was watching it just because it was.
Man, you're a bomb, Cam. Jeez Louise, man. Talk shitting on me for watching K-pop videos. You watch two fighters you fucking hate. Fuck out of here.
Well, you're still worse though for watching K-pop videos.
Nah, shout out to BTS, man. I'm an army for life.
You're a faggot, bro.
I am a faggot, but I love it. A lot of people like me because I'm a faggot.
All right, Kimo, undercard-wise, any fight stood out to you?
I need to refresh my memory. What was that heavyweight that was on there? Joe Joyce, right?
Yeah, Joyce absolutely bulldozed Lenroy Thomas. What else do we have? John Ryder versus Jamie Cox. Paul Butler versus Emmanuel Rodriguez. Martin Joseph Ward versus James Tennyson. Joshua Buatsi beating
Let me just quickly run through this. So, Cam, first of all, fuck your boy Paul Butler. Like, I don't know what his problem is. Missed weight, you know, put on a shit fight. Not impressed at all. I don't know why you're still a fan of him. Like, honestly, explain yourself.
Yeah, the amount that he missed weight by was pretty bad. It's becoming too common these days where guys are just missing weight by massive amounts. Can't really give him.
It makes no sense. Like, you're giving your opportunity to fucking make something of yourself.
Well, from what he said, he had an illness in camp, and it seems to tie in with Liam Smith because he said he had a illness at the same time. So, but my argument is if you know you're not gonna make the weight just like Quigg didn't, then just pull out the fight. Okay, you're not gonna get paid. You're probably never gonna get or you might not get another opportunity to fight for a world title again. But I don't want to hear excuses after the fact. I'd rather you don't fight. Simple.
It just makes no sense to me, man. Like, I don't know. But regardless, just to get back to Joe Joyce. So let me get this straight because I don't know much about him. Apparently, this is a very decorated amateur, right?
Yeah.
And He's supposed to be like one of the new potential big heavyweights in British boxing, but I don't know. I thought he was he's got a very weird style, man. Did he fight like that in the amateurs? Like his pro style is very weird. He's very jittery with his arms, and he's always moving them and kind of doing that head movement.
Head
movement. Almost like MV2 does in the ring when there's nobody there. Like it just makes no sense. Like, yeah, he's got power, and yeah, he's absolutely fucking massive, but I kind of feel like he's just wide open, man. Like if he fights a guy with a little bit of fundamentals, he's gonna get clipped real bad.
To be fair, that's the first time I've really seen him fight like that. I don't know whether it was, the fact that he's on pay-per-view, he wanted to, get his name out there. He did fight quite unconventional to how he's fought before. He was kind of easy to hit, but it seems like he wasn't bothered. He just wanted to go in there and blitz Thomas, make a statement. Thomas has fought twice in the UK before. Once a few months ago, fight ended after I think first round head clash with David Allen, and then he fought the first match with David Allen in Sheffield, I think on the Kell Brook undercard against Kell Brook Spence. So yeah, I think he just wanted to go in there and make a statement, which I think he did. Like, he absolutely just battered him and blitzed him and bulldozed him.
What I do like about him, Cam, is that he doesn't put everything into every shot that he throws. He will throw a lot of punches just to set up that power shot. Like, he keeps the activity going and just kind of swarms the guy and moves him into the punches that he wants to land. I did like that about him, but in the process of doing so, he's kind of got his hands down and moves them around a lot, which I think just leaves him open for huge trouble. But yeah, I'm a bit like Leon. I'm not a big fan of the heavyweight division, but whenever I see a guy that's in shape, with some potential, bring it on. I'd like to see how far he can go. Why not?
And what about Ryder Cox, man? It seemed like Cox quit again. What do you think?
I don't remember a quit. I just remember it was. I think I watched this fight live on some bummy stream. It was just unexpected to me, man. Like, what the fuck is going on with Cox?
I think mentally he's not there, man. He got clipped on the top of the head by Ryder, and he went down. He was looking away, even though the ref was straight in his face, giving him a count. And at like 9.5, he decided to get up, and then ref waved it off.
I just think Ryder is an absolute demon, mate.
Ryder's on a roll,
What a revelation. Bro. He's a what?
He's on a roll, man. I think middleweight was just draining him too much.
Yeah, he might go for that world title shot, won't he?
He'd be a world champion.
He's a classy operator.
Yeah, indeed.
That's terrible.
But, man, let's talk about Ward, man. What the fuck was that? That was quite a war, wasn't it?
That was a fun fight, man. Martin Joseph Ward versus James Tennyson. Ward was pretty good. Started off, kind of slick on the back foot, kind of picking him off, straight punches. Dropped him in, was it the second round with the body shot? But yeah, Tennyson started to come back at him. He started to land just clean shots around the guard, and I don't know, I think Ward just thought he had a better chin than he did, and he was just giving him too many clean shots. And then eventually Tennyson just broke him down, and the fifth started to, I think he dropped him twice, and the ref waved it off. But it was just a fun. It was supposed to go 12, but ended up being 5, and it was just fun while it lasted.
You always have those undercard fights that just drag on, on the Sky pay-per-view often. And this was the complete opposite. It was fun. It was action-packed. I think Ward actually has a lot of talent, man. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't think he's like, elite level or whatever. But in terms of his boxing ability, the way he moves, the way he rips to the body, I mean, it's impressive stuff to watch. But I think he's just one of those guys that just isn't very resilient. He just doesn't really have a chin, man. As soon as he slowed down a little bit and he started getting caught, it all went downhill real fast, So, yeah, talented guy, but I just don't think he has the toughness to really make it in boxing. But I love to see him throw those left hooks to the body, man. Like, it's really impressive.
Lim, you got anything to say on this undercard?
Is that guy related to Lord Alfred Tennyson, the poet?
Possibly, who knows?
He's actually from the Kronk in Belfast.
Uh,
Did you know there's a Kronk gym in Belfast? I
If
did
he,
not know.
if he knew, he would have went.
that is true. No, nothing on my end, mate.
Kimo, just quickly, I do want to talk about Emmanuel Rodriguez, man. I was impressed with him. Like, you kind of scoffed at one of my tweets after the Butler Rodriguez fight when I said, Butler on the back foot is quite impressive. It's just when he's the one made to come forward, he looks very average and basic, man.
Come on. Impressive on the back foot.
No, he
really
is, man. Like when he can kind of, go against the ropes, duck underneath and roll and land his, count on and then spin and pivot out. I think he's very good, man. On his day against a come forward dude, I think Butler's very impressive.
I think you're reaching, and this to me sounds like EJ boxing praising Frankie Gavin. Like that's the same level. Butler isn't very good, bro. Come on.
Frankie Gavin's a bum, man.
He is a fucking bum, and Paul Butler isn't very far off either. He's just not good.
Come on. Now you're reaching out.
You can't say that, blood.
You can't say that, blood.
But let me just quickly talk about Rodriguez, man. I thought his jab was excellent. It was sharp. It was fast. It was one of those jabs where you don't see the guy pull back. He just shoots it from where his hand is, and it's just fast and accurate. His counter punching was excellent. His gauge of distance was really good. And he seems very heavy-handed, and we'll probably get into it later on when we just kind of talk about news. But he's going to be part of the World Boxing Super Series bantamweights. He's already signed up. So has Zolani Tete and the Irishman whose name's escaping me right now, Ryan Burnett. So, World Boxing Series, man. If they get some other good names in the division, man, it's fucking gonna be another good year for them. But undercard wise, I'm pretty much done on the Haye Bellew undercard. So should we move on?
Yeah. I just want to say that Adam Smith was again fucking appalling, man. Like, holy shit. He was acting like Bellew just moved up 5 weight classes and became an undisputed champion.
Bro, did I just hear you criticize Adam Smith?
I have a love-hate relationship with Adam Smith. I don't love him like I love Nick Halling. Like, for me, Halling is still the absolute GOAT of commentary. But Smith is, I don't know, he's fun in a trollish kind of way just because of his voice and his, over-the-top fucking... language that he uses, but my God, he is fucking full of shit. Like he tries to turn something that is an absolute shit show. I saw somebody on Twitter say this the other day. Like it's basically a celebrity boxing event. That's what it is. I mean, really, it's not two guys that don't care about leaving a legacy or fighting ranked fighters or being competitive. Like they don't give a shit about any of that. It's just two guys that have a beef that want to settle it in the ring. That's all it is. And, Smith makes it into something that is not. And the whole broadcast was just absolutely appalling. But for some reason, it entertains me. I don't know why. It's a sick thing I have in my head. But let's move on.
All right, let's talk about May 5th. StubHub, Golovkin versus Varnes. I don't think we're really going to kind of spend too much on this fight. But, Lim, what did you think of the 2-round demolition?
Dude, we're not going to talk about Ishe Smith versus Tony Harrison?
No,
Huh?
We're going to skip that.
What about Devin Haney, bro?
We can talk about Devin if you want.
Shit, you want to talk about these bum-ass fights but not mention Devin Haney? Come on, bro. No, just Devin Haney is a good fighter, good prospect, 19 years old. He was on that show, Chemo, Under the Belt, with our boy B-Shab and the Charlo twins.
Below the belt.
Below the belt. I'm sorry about that. 19-year-old kind of prospect. A lot of people call him a phenom and whatnot, but he's a good fighter. He's another dude like Ryan Garcia who has a huge social media following, but he's actually really good. That's all. But moving on to May 5th. Golovkin versus Varnes head movement. Let's get it.
I only watched this fight just to see our boy do the corner work, bro. Like... I'm just a whole big fan of the Glendale movement, so I thought it was good. I thought it was advising him with the right thing to do, but the size difference was just too much, man. Golovkin looked absolutely massive compared to Varnes. Like it looked to me like 2 weight classes apart. And yeah, the moment he started connecting, game over. I don't see the point of this fight. I don't understand why Golovkin had to fight somebody that had to move up in weight. I don't understand why he couldn't just fight a middleweight. I don't really give a fuck that Canelo tested positive. Those are 2 unrelated things for me. Like, so my opponent tested positive, so I'm going to beat up a smaller guy. Like, what? That doesn't make sense to me. I don't want to go all KH or whatever, but I do smell a little bit of bullshit in this. It's like, oh yeah, Vanes was the only guy that's a draw, blah blah blah. No. First of all, Vanes has never been a draw, and second of all, like, why don't you just fight a middleweight? I don't understand. I'd rather have somebody lesser known, or maybe even not even ranked top 10, but at least somebody who's a fucking middleweight. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm watching somebody who looks really, really fucking small and lanky compared to him in the ring, and you could see the fucking visible difference. It was funny, though. Did you guys think that Golovkin got hurt in the first round when he did that little dance?
Nah,
well, it was more like a hop.
Nah.
It was a little bit strange. I don't know. You got cracked pretty flush, and then you did a little weird step. But, yeah. Shit fight, man. What's the point? I honestly, I like Golovkin, but these kind of fights are a waste of my fucking time and everybody else's. Why are we watching this on fucking TV? Makes no sense to me.
I'm kind of out on Golovkin. Like you just mentioned, he's turning into everything that we hated about his opponents that ducked him early on in his career.
It's sad because, again, he's one of the most fun, action-packed fighters that had so much potential, and I've just always wanted to see him do great things, and you know, fast forward when I was praising him, you know, I mean that was already years ago. Like, time has flown by, and you know, yes, he got the Canelo fight. We went to it. It was pretty good. It was fun, you know, the whole build up, etc. It was an event. But I still think there's just great fights out there that I want to see him against, you know. I mean, I would love to see him fight Charlo. Holy fucking shit. That would be unbelievably fun for me. Like, I would love that fight. This is one, you know. I don't know, man. But there's no excuse. There's no reason to fight Vanes. I keep saying the same shit all over again. Like, I just don't see a reason to fight somebody like Vanes.
And it's his second strike. First Kell Brook and now Vanes.
Yeah.
You know?
I find
the Kell... Yeah, go ahead, Cam.
I just found it funny that, you know, Munguia was rejected as an opponent, but I thought Munguia had more right to fight Triple G than Vanes did. Like, Vanes is like 2 years of inactivity. He's a 154-pounder. Okay, Munguia is a 154-pounder, and Golovkin would have to bring him up, but... You know, he's the bigger guy. Munguia is, you know, a lot more physically set than probably Vanes is, and it's just crazy how, you know, Vanes is allowed to fight Triple G, but
can you guys elucidate this for me? Is it because they try to get that fight in Vegas? So I guess what I'm trying to ask is, if they try to make Vanes versus Triple G in Vegas, do you guys think that fight would have gotten sanctioned?
Probably not, because in California,
and vice versa.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just think Nevada State are more strict, but in a good way for the, you know, for the actual safety of fighters, where California State just probably do what the fuck they want to do.
No, I mean, I've already kind of lamented on this situation quite a bit. It's just so intriguing to me that how quickly time goes by, because Triple G 3-4 years ago was the guy that everybody was avoiding and ducking, and they were. I'm not saying that they weren't, but now it's like all of these up and coming guys are begging to get a fight with him, and it seems like they can't because of business issues, which are brought upon mostly by Tom Laughlin and K1 Promotions and Abel Sanchez. So it's really amazing to see how the roles have reversed in such a short period of time.
But what kind of issues? Like, just not wanting to fight, or
not wanting to fight, not wanting to fight. Because it doesn't generate enough money, you know. I mean, they're already talking down on fucking, Charlo and that IBF mandatory and whatnot, just about not bringing enough numbers or not selling enough tickets. It's like, come on, dog. This is the reason why you guys were bitching about fighters 3-4 years ago. That's why we loved you so much, because we thought you were the guy that would just take over the division and fight everybody. And you're clearly not that guy, so fuck out of here.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time believing that now Golovkin's team is in that mindset. They're just not. I mean, the guy's 35 now, couple of big fights, and I think it's off for him. I think they realize that, especially with his kind of a style, he's not going to last very long, right?
And
so
considering how poor he's looked in his previous 2 fights against higher level opposition. Yeah, I think I'm a little bit different than you guys in that. To me, I don't like bloodbaths. I don't like your traditional Arturo Gatti versus Ward type of just all out brutal war. I like seeing guys at the highest levels fight one another. So for me, the 2 biggest fights for Golovkin, Jacobs versus Canelo, he hasn't looked all that great. So I kind of understand their position as to why they wouldn't want to fight guys like Charlo or a Jacobs rematch and whatnot. But if that's the case, then I just want you to retire. And what makes it so much worse is that you're holding up 3 belts, and then Billy Joe Saunders' whole ass is holding up another one, and we know he's not going to fight anybody. So the 4 best belts at one of the hottest divisions in boxing is being held ransom right now.
Yeah, just for the listeners, we had a good conversation about belts, because for a long time we've kind of, most of us, to be fair, I've just thought belts are just not that necessary anymore, especially with some of the sanctioning bodies having multiple versions and shit. But you made up a great point when we discussed about you find belts are important for younger up and coming fighters.
Absolutely, and I'd love to hear Kimo's opinion on this as well. I think you have certain outliers like Canelo, obviously, who are self-made, and guys like Miguel Cotto at the later stages of his career. But for guys like Munguia, imagine what kind of financial position Munguia is at now for people, clamoring to fight him, for people like Kell Brook or Liam Smith wanting to fight him, or a guy like Jarrett Hurd, for Christ's sake. Jarrett Hurd doesn't attract anything. People don't know who the fuck Jarrett Hurd is, but the fact that he's a lineal champion at 154 ahead of Charlo gives him so much more, I think, bargaining power than his popularity would lead you to believe. So
I fully agree. Belts get abused, but at the same time, belts are also life-changing tools that boxers can use to kind of put them in a competitive position to get a big fight.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, if you're a belt holder, you have a target on your back, especially if people think that you're beatable. And you see promoters who see it all the time. Promoters overpay guys, for their belt. And, always the biggest fucking example that comes to mind was Joshua versus our boy, the Prince. What was his name?
Charles Martin.
Yeah, exactly. Charles Martin. What? He got paid like £3 million for that shit, man. That's a transaction. Shit. That's life-changing money. For him, somebody who probably lives a very chill life, smoking weed in his fucking basement, he can chill out for a very long time. So belts absolutely matter. Because
when you walk the earth like a god, you need pockets full.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think you went a bit further than weed, by the way. I think you went to crack.
But just going back to 160, Jamal. These are fucking young, hot, up and coming dudes, man. They're just ready for the taking, and yet there's such a disconnect because they have to wait for these guys to get the fuck out of the weight division or just to leave altogether. You know what I mean? It's that limbo state is so frustrating for me. And I alluded this in a previous podcast. When Errol got his opportunity to fight Kell Brook, he did not take a single kind of stay busy fight until he got that title shot. And to me, that is sickening to not see a hot prospect like Jamal Charlo or anybody else not fight just because they don't want to lose their mandatory positioning. That is obscene to me.
Absurd. That is absurd.
That is fucking illegal. That's what
I'm saying. But isn't Jamal now the mandatory for one of Golovkin's titles?
Yeah, WBC.
The WBC belt. Okay, interesting. Yeah. So let's do some prediction here. We know the WBC are not the most trustworthy entity out there, but You know, what are the odds that this is going to get forced? I mean, you guys tell me. I don't really give a fuck about the business, so you tell me. Do you foresee this happening or not?
I actually don't know the business as well as Cam either, so I concede to you, Cam. What happens? Who's the strictest of the sanctioning bodies? Is it the IBF?
IBF are usually the strictest. I think they've given Golovkin. They gave Golovkin a pardon for this Varnes fight, but it just seems for me the WBC are gonna go all out for Golovkin because they want to make this rematch with Canelo because financially it's going to be big for them. They'll probably create some next belt that no one cares about just to parade it around on fight week. But I definitely don't see WBC enforcing any mandatory upon Golovkin in the near future.
Yeah, so in other words, Canelo is the priority, and Jamal will basically, what will he get? Some step aside money or some shit? I don't know, but
hopefully, bro.
We're not gonna see him against Golovkin. It's sad, but
yeah,
my Charlo, be a great fight though.
God damn. Charlo boys were out here in LA a couple of weeks ago hosting an event at a strip club, so that's kind of what they're doing in the meantime.
Speaking of, man, I want to see a Charlo versus Hearn, bro.
Hell yeah! I don't know if you listened to a lot, Pat, in our last podcast, dude, but I said the two fights that I'm absolutely just. I have a raging hard-on for the two Charlo brothers, man. Charlo versus Hearn and Charlo versus Danny, man. Let's get it.
Oh, those are two fantastic fights.
Yeah, we in this bitch. And if you guys haven't seen, like, the Charlos are getting a lot of push right now. They were just on a Showtime, just a wonderful Showtime show called Below the Belt with Brendan Schaub. Just absolutely fantastic. And I'm really glad that they're really pushing our guys, man.
To be honest, though, Lim, we talk a lot of shit, but that was a fun interview. I actually thought that worked really well. There was some chemistry there.
Like, they're cool. They're cool dudes, man. Like, Jamal is like a cool, chill-ass dude, and Charlo
was high as fuck.
Like, Charlo, I know he was. Can you imagine Jamal versus Canelo? Like, who am I gonna root for, man? Oh God.
Just quickly, Lim, as well. I watched some of the fights from that Texas PBC card where Jamal was on commentary, and I thought he was pretty decent on commentary. He's better than Robert Guerrero.
Yeah.
Robert Guerrero.
Robert Guerrero. It's like comparing fucking, I don't know, just something fucking awesome to something shite. I don't know. He's terrible.
He's fucking terrible. Mal Alpha speaks better English than Robert Guerrero, man. He's incoherent babble. Once
Robert Guerrero transitioned into CrossFit, you know the guy was shot to pieces, mate. Yeah. No, it's good though. No, but that's it, Cam. I don't know how we got on this track. Oh, Golovkin.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Gennadievich Golovkin.
Man, because I like chemo, like you, I was high. I always defended. I mean, I was high like yesterday, not right now, but I was always really high on Golovkin, and it's kind of crazy, man. It's like that Batman quote, you know, you see your heroes kind of on the other side of the spectrum when it's all said and done.
Well, I think most boxers, to be honest, kind of enter this phase of just cash grabbing before they retire.
Yeah.
I think. You know, it happens to everybody, man. I mean, look at what Pacquiao's doing. He's fucking ditched his trainer now to fucking make that little bit of extra money, and he's just doing a world tour. You know, fighting in Kuala Lumpur against La Máquina. Like, it's not about competitiveness anymore, man. It's just about making money, and they realize they have a few years left in the sport. You know, they're rich now. The hunger is gone, and you know, This is how they're setting up to feed their families, bro.
Right, I understand, but the sad part is that Manny, his legacy is set in stone. Triple G's legacy is very far away from that, and that's the most unfortunate part.
Yeah, in terms of names, it's not very good.
Like, what's the highlight achievement of Triple G's career?
There isn't a key achievement. There's a key event, which was the Canelo fight, but that's more for him personally. It's not really for us. Like, we saw him struggle with a guy that we probably thought a couple of years back he would sleep. You know,
I thought Canelo was gonna get stopped. That was my prediction for that fight.
No, and that slick fucking defense is way too good. Good Lord, that fucking that roll on the ropes is just incredible.
Yeah.
I'm still on the wagon, by the way. Hashtag Mieta.
Of course, me too. And I was joking. If Canelo ever fought Jamal, I'd still be Canelo. I'd be in Canelo's nutsack all day. You best believe that. So don't ever get it twisted. You dig?
Plus, you just signed with WADA, bro.
Exactly. Year-round drug testing, baby.
Who the fuck else is doing that, bro?
But yeah, Cam, were there any the Brock? I don't know if you want to discuss Cecilia Braca's fight, Cam. But
nah, it's not worth it, man. It wasn't a great fight, but just Ryan Martin was on undercard. Never seen him before. I was really impressed. 140-pounder. He fought Amir Khan's old adversary, man. And I thought he was pretty good, man. Catching counter very well, going to the head and body, and just another good name at 140. It's a division that's kind of hotting up. It kind of went through. It went through a kind of doldrum of when people stepping up to 47, but I think 140 is picking up.
No, it's picking up. It's still probably the shittiest division in boxing. I'm serious, Kim. We had this conversation a couple of days ago. There's 2 fucking vacant belts in the weight class, and the other 2 title holders are fucking Jorge Ramirez and who was the other 140 title holder? A Relic? Fuck out of here, man. That division is shite, mate.
Be an optimist, bro. Be an optimist. Our boy Josh Taylor's in there to take it over, bro.
I agree with that.
Ooh.
Fucking our boy. Taking on Postal, man. Let's give this guy his just due, baby.
Yeah. But let's go to the night before the Golovkin-Martirosyan fight. Same venue, StubHub, Carson, California. Ryan Garcia had a pretty big step-up fight against Jason Velez. Kimo, what did you think?
I thought it was a very good choice for in terms of matchmaking. Yes, Velez obviously going into it, we thought, crafty veteran. He's been around the block a few times, but then you kind of hear the backstory to this a little bit, and that he was basically out of boxing and he was working in a fast food restaurant, and then decided to come back. So I don't think the guy was ever really still in his prime of his career, in fantastic shape and ready to fucking kill a young dude like Ryan Garcia.
No, I think Jason is actually on a winning streak, bro.
So
that was a little bit before his comeback. So he fought Huama in March, and he killed Juanma. I know that's not saying much, but we just gotta consider where Ryan Garcia is at. And trust me, bro, I fucking hate the whole Ryan Garcia movement. Yeah. I think it brings out the worst in human beings, and I think it's so fucking moronic. But at the same time, I'm just not trying to sound like too much of a hater.
No, I'm not hating, by the way. I'm just saying it was very, very clever matchmaking, because it turned out to be a guy that could give him a lot of rounds, and it was a good experience for him. I mean, the guy is just so young. Like, you can't push him into the elite level of the sport right now. You just can't. So you have to give him rounds. You have to kind of build it up. And I mean, I'm not sold on Ryan Garcia though. I'm sold on the potential for stardom. That's what I'm sold on. I can see it. I can see how he's fucking headlining a card in StubHub. Yes, it wasn't completely sold out, but there's a lot of people there, and the dude's fucking young. If he really, really has the talent that everybody's hoping for, he will be a fucking star, and I think he will be a massive star. But I just don't think he's that talented, guys. If people are comparing him to De La Hoya because of his, quote unquote boyish good looks, but De La Hoya was a fucking animal when he was younger, man. He was a freak athlete.
And he was hotter too.
He was probably he was more handsome instead of cute. You know what I mean? Like
bro. When De La Hoya was
a
in his
handsome
prime,
devil.
even when he was 18, 19, that guy was a fucking I remember there would be women from California who would fly out to Vegas or from wherever the fuck and just fly out to see his pay-per-view fights. Like, who the fuck does that anymore, man?
But I'm saying, I think De La Hoya, despite all the bullshit that went on later in his career and the Mayweather and the Pacquiao fight, people forget how talented this guy was, man. People forget how good his legs were, how he could move around the ring and fire off that left hook, man. I thought he was an absolute sensational fighter in his
Preaching
prime
to
when
the
he was
choir,
younger.
man.
Yeah.
Preaching to the choir. I love De La Hoya. To me is like the perfect, like if you can paint like the perfect like boxer puncher,
Yeah.
De La Hoya is that when is in his prime. Like his left hook, the way he would throw it as his initial kind of punch. I've never
Yeah.
seen anybody throw a left hook that fast. It's like a jab. It's incredible. And that's actually funny because Ryan Garcia tries to do that a lot too, except his is, it might be as fast, but he doesn't extend it the way De La Hoya did. And first of all, De La Hoya's chin was always tucked. It wasn't, sky high up in the fucking air. And De La Hoya could actually move. Ryan Garcia can't move. He just moves back in straight lines. He goes forward, he goes backward, he goes forward, he goes backward. I think he's just a knockout waiting to happen. But at the same time, I'm not going to hate. I hope he does well, but I don't really see it, man. I like guys who are a little bit more varied.
That's my problem with him. His feet are in quicksand. He doesn't really move around the ring. He stands very upright, and I think, yeah, like you said, I think you can't compare it to De La Hoya. De La Hoya combined like pure boxing ability and technical talent with athletic ability, and I don't really think that Ryan Garcia has even 50% of De La Hoya's athletic ability. He doesn't move like he moves. He stands in front of his fighters way too much, and I think when he fights a pressure fighter who will relentlessly, come forward and trap him against the ropes because he's not able to just kind of, have that lateral movement to escape, I think he's going to be in deep shit. I really think so. I think he's going to be in trouble. But they'll be smart to kind of just build him up very, very slowly and not put him in with big punchers, because even if he has a good chin, I still think he's going to be eventually he's going to come in a fight with a guy that will not go away and that can keep piling on the pressure, and he will have to deal with him for 12 rounds. And I think that's the difference between him and a really, really talented boxer. A talented boxer can mitigate that by beautiful movement and getting that respect, but still, not getting into a brawl, keeping it a boxing fight. Ryan Garcia's style doesn't lend to that. I think he will get into a brawl very, very quickly if they don't watch out, and that could spell big trouble for the kid. I don't know, man. I kind of foresee at one point they're gonna match him up wrong, and we'll get an Antoine Douglas type of beatdown. I see that happening for some reason.
Yeah, and especially considering that he's Golden Boy, they don't really have the best track record of managing their fighters properly in terms of stepping up their competition, as we saw in the Saddam Ali fight, conspiracy theory or not. But I'm rooting for the kid, though. He's actually local. He lives like in this like desert town that my parents have a restaurant in. So I've gotten to see like his parents and shit. They're cool people, but I don't see him sustaining it. And like we mentioned in a previous show, when you have such a high following at such an early stage in your career, it really creates this disconnect. Again, I keep using that word, but it creates like a separation in terms of where your actual skill level is and the hype that you're getting. And I think from a promotional perspective, it's really hard to kind of massage that and mitigate that ego, because I do think Ryan Garcia is a true fighter in the sense that he wants to fight the best competition, and I like that about him. But that's going to get him in a lot of trouble. And if you put him in there against fucking Tank, like even 3-4 years down the road, like I just don't see that ending well for you. So
no. And by the way, they need to They need to
Yeah.
stop giving him the microphone before his walkouts. Like, what is that about? That is super cringy.
Well,
And-
his demographic is like 14 and 15-year-old, Twitter hosts who have an IQ of like 75. So,
Yeah, but I don't see anybody do that. Why are they doing that? I don't see that with any other fighter. Like, they do a locker room interview, like before the fight, but just when he's about to walk out, they put a mic in his face, and he's like, "Yeah, let's get it, let's put in that work." Like, it's like, dude, what the fuck is that? Just it makes no sense to me. Like, why are you doing it? First of all, it's really cringy, and second of all, like, if you want to be like De La Hoya, then be the handsome, smiling, soft-spoken guy, and just get the fucking women wet in the audience and do your thing. Like, why are you trying to be all fucking like thuggish, like you're about to get into a war? Like, calm the fuck down and just walk out. I don't understand that.
It's a new age, man. There's this new age of like, like Instagram hoes. There's Instagram thoughts who have like 12 million followers. I met some girl in Santa Monica last week who had 12 million Instagram followers, and all she does is post pictures of her ass cheeks. I couldn't believe it. And Ryan Garcia is kind of in the similar vein. Like the guy has 1 million followers on Instagram, and fucking guys like Jared Hurd have 40,000 followers on Instagram. Like it's crazy.
This is why I'm not on Instagram. I cannot relate to that shit.
I'm on IG because I love me some CrossFit chicks. With bazooka abs and bazooka shoulders. Yum.
Whatever, bro.
Just quickly, my opinion on Garcia, since Chew started the hype train, like this is the first proper opportunity I've seen of him. I watched his last fight, 1 round blitz against a much smaller dude who got brought up to 130. But yeah, I had a good look against Velez, and there are a lot of pros to Ryan Garcia in my opinion. I think he's very composed even under pressure. The counter left hook is really nice. And the right uppercut left hook, but there are a few cons which are pretty. The cons are pretty.
Connish.
No, they are going to affect him going forward, man. Because the fact that he's got no head or upper body movement, he goes back in straight lines, his chin's in the air. That's a recipe for disaster.
It sounds like Khan.
Yeah, good point. We'll see how his chin is.
I think Khan's more talented.
Yeah, but Ryan might have a better chin, so they might even out at the end of the day.
Yep, we shall see. But that's it for me on Garcia. You guys got anything else after you've shit on him that much? Just quickly on the undercard limb, you got you had a bit of time to spend with the Spike.
Yeah.
O'Sullivan, he's training at the wild card, and you kind of got on with him.
I didn't watch the fight though, so.
Nah, there's not much to say on the fight. The dude was
fought a welterweight.
Yeah,
so Spike might have been a good dude, but fuck him for fighting a welterweight. That's fucking terrible, man. Fuck out of here, man.
Did you guys know that Spike is a stuntman in his free time?
That's dope. He's an interesting guy. So I can see him living that kind of lifestyle. But
yeah, he's they mentioned that about fucking 10 times on the broadcast. But yeah, it was a very uneventful fight. I don't even know why I watched it. Just him walking down a fucking welterweight wearing a really large kilt, and that was pretty key. But yeah,
I love how his mustache was like not affected at all afterwards. Like, when he's getting his hand raised, like the curly mustache was like not even floppy or nothing. It just remained the way it was after 4 rounds.
Yeah, he does have a very strong stash game. I think there's a lot of hairspray in that shit or something. I don't know.
Some gel, maybe. All right, moving on. A fight that I really love watching. April 28th, it was Jesse Magdaleno versus Isaac Dogboe. What a fight, Kimo.
You are riding this Dogboe shit hard. Like, you guys were freaking out about this guy. And I hadn't even seen the fight yet. But then I did, and I was like, okay, very exciting fighter. Very, very strong, fucking aggressive. Wonderful body work, disciplined body work as well. Keeps going to the fucking body, very, very committed. And he beat a very worthy guy. I rate Jesse Magdaleno. But I feel like at the same time that Magdaleno didn't really fight the fight that he should have. I think he traded way too much with a guy that he has a lot more boxing ability than. But it's I don't know. I at the same time, you got to give Dogboe credit as well for making him fight that kind of a fight. He's putting a lot of pressure on Jesse, and it was a very exciting fight. But I don't know, Cam. I feel like you guys were really overrating him a little bit in terms of his ability. Like, Dogboe is a little bit crude, I would say.
I don't know where you got the fact that I was overrating. Like, when I watched that fight against Cesar Juarez, the one when I named it the Ghanaian StubHub, because it looked like a version of the StubHub the venue did anyway. But he impressed me then. But I was unsure how he was gonna react to someone on a more skillful level like Magdaleno, and I thought he handled him pretty well. Like, initially, getting dropped, coming back up. I thought Jesse won the first 3, but then Dogboe started to kind of take over a bit, started putting punches together in combinations, and Jesse does that thing that a lot of the fight is trained by Manny Robles does, where they'll just like high guard up against the ropes and just like bring on the guy, let him come in on the inside and just like bang shots on him. And I don't know why they do that. It's a bit of a weird tactic to use, and Jesse was just doing that too much, especially after he got dropped, which that was an impressive shot that dropped him. I think it was like a right hook from Dogboe when Jesse was trying to throw his own southpaw right hook, and it was a full fight. It wasn't maybe as competitive. Like some people said afterwards that they thought it was kind of one-sided from Dogboe, but there was a round, I think it was the 9th, where Jesse started to, box and move again, and Dogboe was looking for just one shots or two shots, and we see that so much in the sport where a guy gets success and he stops throwing the punches that set up that big hook or that big right hand. He starts just looking for the single shots, and the fight just gets away from him. And luckily he didn't do that. In the 10th he came back out throwing shots again, going to the body, going to the head, and I just thought it was a really exciting fight. And he's very well spoken. He spent time over in the UK as a young man, and they had a little kind of beef before the fight where he was talking about his son and shit, and it was nice to see that both guys had a lot of respect for each other after the fight. And I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch. Jesse said that he might go up to featherweight. It depends. I don't know if that was one of the reasons where I did think he looked a bit flat at times, and maybe he's just struggling with the weight, but he didn't really make excuses, which was again nice to see. That so many boxers say no excuses, but, and then give you 3 excuses, and he didn't do that. So yeah, it was a fun fight. I enjoyed it. I don't know if you saw it, Lim.
No, I didn't watch it. No, I didn't watch it. Sorry.
You're a bum, bro. How did you miss this fight? It was amazing.
Yeah, see, man, Cam, you were acting like this was the second coming of Christ, honestly. Like, seriously, man.
Oh,
you and Nelta, I think, were both guilty of this.
What, bigging up the fight or bigging up Dogboe?
Bigging up the Dogboe, bro.
I think you're getting me mixed up with someone else, bro.
No. I know what I saw, bro.
All right, let's move on. You want to talk about someone building up their home in the Barclays. Let's talk about Daniel Jacobs versus Vasyl Sulecki. Sulecki impressed me, man. I did watch a bit of him against Hugo Centeno, but I didn't think he was going to have so much success against Jacobs.
Yeah, the dude can definitely fight. He can box. He's definitely a talented guy, well schooled as well. He just didn't have the power. If he had power, God knows what would have happened. But he is a little bit feather-fisted, man. He really couldn't put a dent in Jacobs, which was a bit disappointing. But regardless, it was a very fun fight to watch. Again, which is a nice surprise. It's always nice when you have a fight that you're not really interested in, but then you end up watching it anyway, and it turns out to be, just a fun shootout. Actually, Jacobs wasn't really boxing that discipline against him. He just throwing a lot of haymakers with just big shots against him, but the guy kept on coming, and it was an exciting fight, man. But yeah, it's a guy like Danny Jacobs, and I don't want to sound cliche, but with his backstory and his appeal, I've criticized him a lot in the past for the way he conducted himself in the media in terms of the Golovkin situation, but I don't see a lot of reasons why this guy cannot be a star in the United States. I really don't. Because, yes, it's been rehashed many times, but his story is special. And he is a likable guy, and he is a talented fighter. And I've come around to him a lot. I do think he's much better than I originally thought after the Pirog disaster. So, he's definitely top 3 in the division. And I don't know. He's in his hometown, and there's like 5,000 people there, maybe?
Who's your top 3 at 160?
Well, obviously him.
And hold on, you can, and I'm talking about top 3 who are your own tested by VADA. No, I'm kidding. Top 3.
Well, then it's just Canelo, and maybe Chepo.
Chepo.
I think Chepo can make 116 out of these, putting away the Mexican steaks.
Miera. Por mi familia.
Por mi familia.
For todos mexicanos. Vamos. Ra, ra, ra. Canelo. Ra, ra, ra.
Gotta love Canelo, man. No, but it's obviously Canelo, GGG, and Jacobs, I would say.
Gotcha. Do you think Jamal is a better fighter than Jacobs, but just doesn't have the resume?
No, I wouldn't be too quick to make that conclusion. I think that Jacobs is a tough matchup for him. Jacob moves well. He's a good boxer, but he's a little bit wild at times with his shots. I think it's a very challenging fight for Jamal. I'm not too sure.
Do you think Jamal is bigger than Jacobs?
No. No.
Size?
Jacobs is a fucking huge guy, man.
No, I know, but I think they're about the same size.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
I think Jacobs. Jamal is probably a bit more sturdy. I think Jacobs doesn't really have much of, his legs are a little bit skinny, so I don't know if they're the same height, but he's probably a bit stronger in the upper body. But Jamal is all around. It's just a fucking well built, ripped guy.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
I love how any middleweight conversation always comes back to Jamal, but
because they're in there, man. He's an exciting fucking entry in the division. As soon as he moved up, you get all these fights opening up, and it's just very exciting. I would love to see that fight once again. Yeah. But give your thoughts on Jacobs' fight, Lim.
I thought it was pretty boring. I don't know what to make of Jacobs, man. I really don't. I see the athletic skills, but like you mentioned, dude, this guy gets so sloppy at times.
He's wild. His hooks are wild.
It's really mind-boggling, man. And he'll throw just punches sometimes where it looks like he's just learned how to fight. And even his foot movement is really sloppy, dude. I get it, he's quick and he's got quick hands, but the way that he pivots sometimes, it's just really awkward. It kind of reminds me of how Deontay Wilder moves sometimes, man. He's just really, really wild with his shots a lot of times. And I don't know. I would slightly favor Charlo just because I feel like Charlo's a really traditional technical fighter. So, and the reason why I'm bringing up Charlo is that I feel like both Danny and Charlo are in positions right now where they're not going to be able to get the fight that they want for a long time. And the natural conclusion is let's get these two fucking monsters in the ring with one another next. And they both want it. Danny's been calling out Charlo surprisingly afterwards. And I think Jamal wants that fight as well. So let's get it, man.
You saw that altercation backstage, right? That was fucking intense.
Yeah. Yeah, and Danny definitely got the better of him because I do think Danny's just a more cerebral, intelligent person. But at the same time, if Jamal had half a brain cell and he wasn't high, why the fuck is Danny Jacobs mentioning M's, millions, like he's some kind of fucking draw? Bro, you got your fucking M's off of the coats of Triple G, bro. You're not a fucking draw. You can't even sell out your own fucking home arena, even half of that shit.
What is Eddie Hearn doing with him? I don't understand what the game plan is here. Well, and shout out to the Boxing Voice for fucking bringing this up. You know what I'm saying? They were questioning this, and it's oh, don't worry about it. Danny's getting paid. Okay, well, that might be fine and dandy, but your argument has always been that you can fill up arenas for anybody and do big shows, and you're not. So
I'm interested.
What's the deal?
I'm interested to see what's going to happen as well because we're going to get into this Matchroom USA, DAZN and partnership. But obviously the partnership Matchroom have with Jacobs, I don't know the finer details, but it was through him being, broadcast on HBO. So I don't know with this DAZN contract, will that HBO contract play out for the fights that they negotiated and then he's a free agent? I'm not sure, but I do think that whatever happens with that, Eddie will take him over to this DAZN deal afterwards because he's just scouting for any decent fighter that's out of contract. So I'm sure he'd want to take Jacobs over with him after the deal with HBO expires.
Okay, that's a lot of contractual bullshit that you just laid upon us, Cam. But my question is, the guy is fighting in fucking Brooklyn. Why is that shit not packed, man? It's a very simple question.
But bro, and not to defend Eddie, but Eddie's only had him for 2 fights. It's gonna take a bit of time, I think.
This isn't an Eddie issue. This is a Danny issue.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Danny isn't a draw.
But why? Why is he not a draw? I don't understand.
Because I don't think he has that flamboyant. It's like, I feel like you either need to have like the mantra of a Canelo type, where you just kind of look a certain way and people are attracted to you that way, or you got to have like a fucking Charlo type of vibe. And even Charlo, they're not draws yet, but I feel like Charlo can be a draw, whereas I don't foresee Danny being a draw.
Let me ask you a
But you're right
question.
though. Because on all like the checklists, like he should be a bigger name. I don't know a star necessarily, but he should be a draw, right? He's a fairly good-looking guy. He speaks well. He's a fun fighter, and he's from Brooklyn, and he has that incredible story. I don't know.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you a deeper question. Is it maybe that a guy
is America
like
racist? Is that what you're trying to ask me? If America?
Well, no,
racist?
I was going more down the route of in this Instagram age, where it's all about swag and fucking hashtags and being brash and all of that. Well, I mean, look at the numbers that Broner is still doing, for example, in the same area. Is there just no appeal anymore for a guy in a story like Danny Jacobs?
That is a fantastic question, or fantastic point you bring out, and I do kind of think so, man. I feel like that narrative is kind of, I hate to say it, but it's kind of contrived. Where people, like, our society is so watered down and so stupid that a rap beef with a 5'5" Mexican rapper named Tekashi 6ix9ine generates more headlines than somebody recovering from cancer. That may be it. But
because in another era, I could see like Danny Jacobs being on Oprah. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And getting a fucking massive push, and his story being out there and coming on Good Morning fucking America and talking to people and being an inspiration and all of that. I mean, at the end of the day, what he's able to do is, I don't want to compare it directly because it's different, but it is a little bit of a Lance Armstrong type of story, where somebody has come back from this and it has reached like the fucking peak of athletic competition. Like, it is fucking incredible. And somebody else like that during other times has gotten ridiculous amounts of a push from it, and nobody seems to give a fuck about him. It's really, and I'm never gonna pull a race card on any of this because I don't really believe in it.
Yeah, I was trolling.
I just think that no, but some people do. By the way, some people do say it's a race thing. I don't think it's a race thing. I just think that nowadays, controversy and online bullshit and things like that. That's what sells. And him just being a nice dude and having a cool story and being a family man and the way he is with his son and all of that, it might sound a bit depressing, but I just think nowadays society doesn't really give a fuck about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is what
agree.
it is.
Trust me, man, like, this whole Instagram page is really depressing to think about. It's unfortunate, and it does seem like there's just really good guys like Danny Jacobs. Like, it's almost too clean cut. It doesn't have that wow factor. You need somebody like AB or some other stupid ass boxer doing some ratchet ass shit to get people, at the fights.
No, it's crazy. So, no, I 100% agree with what you said, Kimo. I do think it's just people are more interested with the bullshit antics than actual good guy stories.
Think about Haye versus Bellew. Like, what was the purpose of that fight? Like, I lambasted that fight in the previous show because, again, it's like whoever said that on Twitter, that's exactly how I felt about it. It felt like some reality show, like some celebrity boxing reality contest, and they were the last two guys who made it to the end. Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Because I just checked, right? Danny Jacobs has 100,000 followers on Instagram, whereas I don't know how many Broner has, but I'm sure it's a lot more than that, right?
Yeah, but that is one thing as well. Like, Instagram followers, I don't feel like there's any kind of correlation with success.
Well, I don't know about that.
It's very muddled. I'll retract that statement. I do feel like there's a general correlation, but I feel like it's extremely difficult to correlate or to make any kind of prediction how well somebody's going to do with Instagram followers.
I don't think it's a direct correlation, but we do have to take into account that a lot of times these days, and I'm not saying it translates immediately into like any monetary gain or whatever, but your how much you're known amongst like any type of community is kind of demonstrated nowadays by your presence on social media, right? Like a lot of fights nowadays, for example, get made over social media. Like it is very much an indicator, I think.
That's fair, but that's a different conversation, right? Having fights getting constructed through social media as a communicative medium. What I'm saying is that the numbers in like Ryan Garcia, right? He has roughly 1 million followers. Like let's say 800,000 of those are 15-year-old girls. Are those girls going to translate to ticket sales? Are they going to watch his fights on ESPN live? Sure, they might.
Not directly.
But will they? Exactly. But will they, 2 to 3 years down the road, pay $70, $80 for a pay-per-view? Whereas let's say a guy like Andre Ward or Danny Jacobs, they have 100,000 followers. A high percentage of those followers convert their money into that fighter. So like, I'm not criticizing you, but I've just heard other people like use Twitter or Instagram as a direct indication of how popular some boxer is, and that's just completely not the case.
No, I do agree. It's not a direct correlation, but I just I don't know. I'm just trying to find an answer as well to why Jacobs isn't the guy he is, and one clear indicator is he never really had a fucking proper promoter, and his initial part of his career where he came back and had a lot of success was just kind of muffled by the fact that he has no real backing.
Yeah.
He never really had a promoter until Eddie Hearn, and I don't know what Eddie Hearn is planning to do with him, or do things differently, because I haven't seen anything different now. Right? All I've seen is a couple of. Actually, no, I haven't seen anything different. I've probably seen more like specials from him before he joined with Eddie. So, like on TV about his story. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is here, but it does baffle me quite a bit.
Yeah. That's why I think promotion in boxing and MMA it's really one of the most fascinating things to cover in detail. Like that's why I'm interested in Dana White crossing over to boxing. It's like this guy has been heralded as some magic promoter, and yet the UFC has been fucking just terrible in numbers in the past year and a half or so. So, like what's the correct model? How do you bring out the most of certain fighters? Is promotional appeal, is that mostly inherent? Like, can you actually build it? Can you create it? I don't know. It's really difficult.
It's interesting, man. It's all about the architecture of the sport, isn't it?
Yeah, and the self-cannibalization of just our current society as it is.
Yeah.
Just quickly on the fight itself, like Sulecki impressed me in points, man. I thought his jab was excellent. His counter punching was good. And one thing I noticed with Jacobs is if a fight's not going the way he thinks it should go, he loses the composure and just starts swinging away. And to your point where where his technique goes a bit out the window, and it does happen. Like it happened against Sergio Moro in the first fight, and it's happened in a few other fights. And I think against certain opposition, man, like if he fights Canelo or maybe not Golovkin in a rematch, but like against Canelo or Charlo, like if he starts fighting like that, then with his questionable chin as well, like that might be issues, but we'll have to wait and see. You guys got anything else again regarding Jacobs?
Nah, bro.
Undercard wasn't that great. Katie Taylor became unified champion, but the opponent was pretty shitty. Jarrell Miller pointed Johan Dupois, the Frenchman.
I just want to thank Hearn and Matchroom for all the support.
Yeah, your Katie is very good, to be honest.
Yes.
Ski mask after running half a mile.
Yes, she's almost out of breath, man. She needs to work on that shit. Fucking get some cardio in there.
Bro, so everything's a power punch, man. That's why.
I mean, she's even like that in the press conference afterward. I don't know why she's always out of breath and just can't seem to talk normally. But yeah.
All right, fight-wise, I think that's about it. If I haven't mentioned any fight that you guys have seen and want to talk about, go ahead.
That big baby Miller fight was fucking terrible.
I think Shams just shot himself in the chat for that Katie Taylor.
I think Shams mentioned earlier too that Paul Butler shot himself in the ring. Is that true, Cam?
He did have like marks upon the bottom of his pants, so a lot of people came to that assumption on Twitter.
So Shams just pulled off a Paul Butler.
Maybe.
I think Shams was in our Mystic Men podcast, Chemo. I think he was commenting on that. So shout out to Shams. He's a real one, man. He's the Michelle Linares of our channel. I don't know how he'll take to that compliment, but Michelle Linares is a bad one.
He's the Chepo of our podcast, bro.
Yeah, that's a better comparison.
Just loyal as fuck, bro.
I love that dude, man. But shout out to Michelle Linares for real, man. Like, that's my ideal woman. Like, I want to marry somebody like Michelle Linares. So,
well, let's see if she actually stays with him once he retires and, you know, isn't as rich anymore, because you never know with these broads, man. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, she's fluent in Japanese, Spanish, and English, man.
That may be, but she's no Miss Louis Bags. Bro.
No, she is. Miss Louis Bags?
Yes. Miss Louis Bags is a real loyal woman, man.
Yeah, she's the real one.
She's been through everything with AB. She's been through 7 kids with AB, bro. If that's not a real woman, I don't know what is. All for
it is Louise.
You know.
You know. AB. What'd you think about the AB fight, by the way?
Yeah, Cam, are we talking about this now, or do you want to wait?
It's up to you if you want to mention it.
Oh, no, my bad, Cam. No. Sorry for...
I don't want to disturb your schedule since you're so fucking OCD.
No, it's fine, because I was going to go into just some news and Hearn and stuff. So if you want to talk about it now, go ahead.
Yeah, it was an okay fight. It was decent. I always like watching AB. But did we really see anything different? People were talking about how he's just a little bit more active, and now he's got somebody in the corner that really pushes him with, what's his name, Kevin Cunningham. But I didn't really see much difference, to be honest. Yeah, maybe in the latter part of the fight he just started throwing a little bit more, but it's still the same guy. I mean, at the end of the day, Broner is... I do think he's talented. I do think he's got some skill. I think defensively he can be pretty sound at times as well. But he's still just either on or he's off. He doesn't throw with people. He doesn't punch off of combinations when other guys throwing. He just doesn't do it. He just can't. He has to wait until the guy stands still in front of him, and then he fires. And it's always going to be his downfall. He's tough, he's resilient. I think he's got good stamina as well, but he's, I don't know what it is with him, man, whether it's mental or whatever, but he's never going to reach the potential that we originally thought we could have with him. And overall, the result as well was just, it was just lackluster. Decent fight to watch, but not more than that.
Any other fights that happened since the last game?
I was waiting for Lim to fucking respond to that, but he's just sitting there being quiet.
He's probably looking at K-pop on YouTube.
He's the one that wanted to talk about this goddamn fight.
So, I'm sorry, which one?
AB.
Oh, AB Vargas?
Yeah.
My bad. I was honestly just watching a fight hype video on AB hitting a heavy bag.
Still going.
And then that dude from Fight Up in the background going,
Yeah,
get it.
Fight Up. Put in that work. Look at that speed.
They don't want that. Yeah. Man. But yeah, let's just get into the news and current events. Yeah?
All right. I want your opinion on the Eddie Hearn deal with the DAZN and the Perform Group. 8-year contract, 16 fights in the US, plus his 16 fights that he has over here in the UK. Apparently $1 billion deal, but that's most likely just for headlines. It's probably less than that, but $1 billion catches headlines. So Kimo, what do you think? I've kind of spoke to Lim. We'll get his opinion after yours. But what do you think about this whole situation?
To be honest, Cam, I don't really know much about it, and I don't really care that much. So I can't really give an opinion on what it means. I mean, maybe you should give me a little bit of background on it, because as far as I know, this has to do with a lot of... I mean, this has kind of been heralded as entry into the new era of streaming, right? This is the way it's being brought forward, or what?
Yeah, it seems so. You know, the world's going that way. Netflix, Amazon, Spotify. It's no longer kind of, you know, classic basic TV where you have a schedule and you have to wait until this is finished until you can watch what you want. And it does seem the way that, you know, broadcasting is going. And from what I've read, Perform Group, you know, they've had this platform, DAZN, in other countries, Canada, I think, in the East, in Japan and stuff, and it's been very successful. And obviously, if they're looking for, you know, major sports in the US, basketball, football and stuff, they have to wait for, you know, contracts to finish for them to, you know, make bids and pick up other sports. So they've basically decided to, you know, start big in boxing and see how they develop with that, and then as slowly as other contracts open up, they'll take other big sports on board, but basically starting with boxing.
But I just like, to me, it doesn't really mean anything unless I see how it's going to materialize, right? Like that's kind of my thing. Like, okay, $1 billion deal, I don't give a fuck. Like, what am I supposed to imagine here? Because if it's a Netflix kind of service where, and again, I find that the Netflix model to me is a little bit different and not really that applicable to boxing, because boxing is all about live streaming, right? You want to watch the fight live, not just be a couch potato on the weekend and just randomly watch fights. That's cool too, but I can kind of do that on YouTube already. Like, it's more a point where, you know, I'm going to work or whatever, and I can just live stream the fight from my phone or whatever, well, in HD. That would be cool. Like, I don't mind that.
No, it will be that. Like, but the whole Netflix thing, what I mean is it's at your leisure. So when the fight is live, you can watch it. But if you're not available at that time, you can go back and start the broadcast from whenever you want, or just skip to the main event. So you're gonna have that flexibility.
Okay, I obviously I like the appeal of that, but my question is, like, I've seen the interview with Hearn where he's talking about, yeah, if you're a fighter and, you know, you're a free agent, we want you. Okay, so what does that mean now? So he's sitting on a pile of money basically to sign any fighter out there, or how is these two things related? Because I'm not really following this part.
Yeah, so Matchroom USA are going to be putting on the show itself, so they'll be able to decide what commentary team they have, basically the visual setup of everything, and then they'll also, you know, sign in fighters to perform in these 16 US shows. And the way he's talking about, maybe up-and-coming guys can fight in the States and then they can come over to the UK and fight undercard here just to get experience, and vice versa. Some of his young guys can go over fight undercards in the USA card. So I think that's his intention, to basically sign guys that are not in contract. And then I think the first show is going to be September. He said in his interview with IFL that he's kind of got the first show basically locked down, so it must be someone that he's either close to signing or people that he's already signed and not made available. So I'm kind of interested to see how it plays out. I think with the amount of money he's got to spend, Hearn is very shrewd. He's not going to do a Heyman and pay people silly money. Obviously, he has to be competitive with what the market is, but I'm really looking forward to it. I've always had a love-hate relationship with Hearn. I think a lot of the stuff that comes out of his mouth is bullshit, but I think he is really good at what he does, the job of boxing, promoting it, and that side of the business. I think he's very good. So I'm interested to see.
I'm intrigued as well. Again, I don't know much about the whole business model and what they're planning to put on, but it is interesting to me, and I'd rather have a guy like Hearn, who, despite being a very cocky mofo who tells a lot of lies and puts on a lot of shitty cards at the same time, he is a passionate promoter, and he does love the sport, and he does get excited about this. And he feels like he can do it better than anybody else. He clearly says that many, many times in interviews, and he firmly believes that. And he's making moves. So let's see where this goes. I'm interested in it as well. I mean, at the end of the day, Hearn, he's definitely fucked up with some cards, but he's also put on a lot of good cards. Let's not forget some of the events that he's put on that have broken records and have done. He's done an amazing job with that. That's also things that we need to take into account. I think he has a lot of potential, and he's a goddamn good promoter at the end of the day. So, yeah, let's see. What was Lim's take about it?
Go ahead, Lim.
How much is it per month?
I don't think they've set the price yet, but a few, guesses of what I've been reading from people in the industry, they're saying about $20 a month.
Mm.
That's not bad. I'd say for me, that would be very, very ideal, right? Because where I live, like, it's not easy to get Sky or HBO or whatever, so that would be very, very handy. And if it only costs that much, then I'd be open to actually paying money for it if it's good value for money.
Yeah. One concern of mine is, like, over the years, you look at Hearn's British cards, is the quality's degraded over the years, man. Like, the pay-per-view ones, like maybe the headline and a few undercard fights are decent, but week in, week out in the UK, these Sky cards are fucking awful, man. So I expect Hearn to kind of go in with a bang with the DAZN and the platform for the first year or two, but I do worry that, after that, we're just going to start getting shit. Because the same happened with PBC. Initially, we were getting really good, or pretty good matchups. The best guys fighting the best, and slowly it's just tailed off. And what have PBC really done in the last year or so? Not much, really.
Is this going to diminish, though, the presence on Sky, Cam, or do you think they'll just keep that presence?
I think Hearn knows, like Sky have been good to him, and he's been good to them. So I think he's definitely going to keep them in their interest and, benefit Sky as much as possible, I think. Because I think Sky will get the DAZN content on their late night shows, and then DAZN will also be getting the UK shows. So I think, one scratch, both is going to be scratching each other's backs, I think.
Interesting.
All right.
What do you think, Limit?
Let's see.
So what I think Sham said in the chat, $125 million per year for 16 shows. So what is that, like $1.25 million per show? So that's a fuck ton of money to play around with. But at the same time, the only concern that I have is that how is he going to bring fighters over to the platform where, sure, Hearn's a better promoter than PBC, for example, but PBC fighters are so used to being coddled. They're used to being overpaid against fighting bums. So how are they going to transition into that model fighting for Eddie? It kind of goes against the grain of having good fights. If your fighter is already kind of in the mindset of not fighting good fights. So.
But that's an attitude that's not lasting anymore, right, Lim? I think the era of being overpaid. Yeah, I mean, it's still lingering because it hasn't been that long, and there's still some guys out there that are getting these privileges. But it is pretty. The well is dry. You know what I mean? Like, how many fucking PBC guys do we still see headline useless cards and make like $1 million? Like, they were scattered all over the place a couple of years ago. Now we barely see them anymore, right?
Sure, but I feel like the way they're responding to not fighting as many times and getting paid, crazy amounts of money is that they're just fighting less, but still fighting for a lot of money. Like look at Danny Garcia versus Sean Porter, for example. Like these fighters are fighting once a year now for maybe like $1.5-2 million, and I think they're content with that. And I also do think it's a cultural thing. Like I think Danny is kind of like a more progressive thinker, but I think for a lot of these numbnuts at PBC who have been coddled for all their lives, like I don't know how they feel about transitioning to Hearn. I've read some social media from the Charlo brothers, and they're like, fuck Eddie Hearn, like we're loyal with Al and all that shit. And I do feel like there's a cultural tie to it, like people are, they gravitate towards, Al Heyman, PBC, and Floyd to a lesser extent, just because of kind of what they represent. So
I see your
because of how much they got paid, obviously.
I see.
Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
No, I see your point, and it's very valid. But I think initially, I think Hearn will struggle picking up big names. But as Chemo says, the well's dry and people are loyal until you stop paying them. And then I think maybe the names he wants initially, he might not get them for maybe 2 years, but eventually I think he will get them.
That's fair, but we've been kind of decrying Al Heyman and PBC not having money for how long now? It's been so long, and it seems like we've had these discussions like years ago. Oh, PBC will run out of money, by the end of the year or early next year at best. And they're still putting on shows. I mean, Showtime has had a really, really good first quarter or first half of the year. They've gotten a lot of money to have a lot of headline fights, and on a consistent basis as well. Like I don't see. Like, I used to always tie myself to that argument for the longest time as well about PBC not having money, but they always seem to find a way to generate more money. I don't know where it comes from, but it's there. And until that happens, I don't see that unfolding it the way that Eddie wants it to unfold.
It's valid, and obviously we don't know, purses as much, but I definitely think that purses must be getting lower. Like, if you look at...
But what makes you think that, though? Has there been any kind of activity or any kind of criticism from the fighters to make you think that somehow
I think
their
inactivity, like these big names, if they're paying them so much, they're gonna. If you're getting paid like a couple mil per fight, you're gonna be wanting to fight, 2, 3, 4 times a year. None of these guys do. Look how inactive they have been.
That's fair, but do you think guys like Thurman or Porter or Danny who get paid $1.5, $2 million to fight each other one time per year, you think they want to make half of that by fighting 3 or 4 times per year? Like, sure, maybe they make more money in totality, but do they want to fight for less money on a per fight basis?
I don't think it would be half of that. I think it'd be comparable, to be honest.
We'll see. Well, that's the crux of the argument. Can Eddie sustain that level of money? And if he can, more power to him. And I do hope people move over. But and another concern that I have is that boxing and the networks. I think the networks are the biggest issue, right? Is like HBO, Showtime, ESPN now and their, streaming app, they like having contracts with fighters. They like operating under the traditional model. So if you're an asset like Lomachenko or, Danny with HBO or Canelo with HBO, like these networks like signing up fighters. And I think what I heard Eddie trying to do was have fighters fight for his network on a one fight basis. So Eddie would be content with just kind of borrowing this guy without adding additional fights onto his contract, like most fighters do, like Golden Boy did with Munguia, like having options on fighters. Like that would be interesting to me, but are there enough like good like B to C level fighters to kind of put on Eddie's platform for it to be successful? Like to sustain, people wanting to pay $20 per month, because $20 is still a lot of money, or however much money it is to watch fights, like especially if the fights aren't as good as the fights that we're getting on Showtime or on HBO, which might not be as consistent, but they're the higher level fights. So I don't know.
I'm not sure about that, but earlier talking about fighter purses, and I think that's part of the issue. But also, we know PBC have been pretty terrible building people in home areas, home cities, and that's one thing Hearn does. And I think if he ever signs the Charlos, the first thing they do is like Charlos and Spence on a big card in Texas, standard. Like, they're fighting a week apart. Spence and Jamel are fighting very soon.
Yeah.
A week apart. Jamel's fighting in is it in California, Fresno? I'm not sure.
LA, bro.
And Spencer's fighting in Houston. You think, why do you not put these guys on the same card, man? It's crazy.
Dallas.
Sorry, Dallas.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, logistically, that's all fine and dandy, but, can Hearn replicate his success in the UK here in the US? Because it is still a very different market. And I know this is going to sound really crude, and I'm not trying to, be racist whatsoever, but, boxing is a very kind of minority-dominant sport. A lot of these great American fighters are either black or Hispanic, and I'm really curious to see how they respond to a guy like Eddie Hearn with his attitude, with his kind of, cocky, brazen nature. It's like, boxers aren't the smartest people in the world. So how do they respond to that? I don't know.
We shall see. Anything else regarding this platform and Eddie Hearn, Chemo Lim?
Like, my dream scenario would have been just my dream for just like kind of content and how we kind of consume content moving forward is just having fights that we can individually choose on a per fight basis and having it be like kind of on a completely like decentralized TV network, like on some fucking Pied Piper
I knew that
Valley
was
type
coming.
of shit. I swear to God, don't you see that as a future? Like, imagine like we could just like, have like some kind of bidding system where we can just bid a certain amount of money just to see a fucking amazing fight, without, all the bullshit with TV networks and contracts and shit like that. Like, that's my fucking dream. That would be amazing.
But bro, that's dangerous, man. What if Gavin Belson tries to fucking take it over, bro?
I know, and just move his operations to China.
I know.
And all those fuckers. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I don't know. This whole I don't know. It seems like it's a pretty lofty future. I hope Hearn does well. The only thing is that Hearn needs the fighters, and he needs their trust and their loyalty. These PBC fighters are loyal to Al Haymon and will follow him. And to kind of cut away at that is a very dangerous proposition. And for all the shit that we give to Al Haymon, like, the dude is obviously smart. I mean, he fucking went to Harvard. And he knows what he's doing, and he knows how to maintain and manage relationships with his fighters. So.
Well, there's talks that he's trying to get Mikey and he's trying to get a Charlo, so we'll see. Like, I think he needs to start with a bang, so I think he needs to sign some, household names or names that, the boxing community really know and make some 50-50 fights in the first year. I think the first maybe 18 months is going to be critical.
And Shams in the chat says, the fighters that Hearn brought out, those Charlos, those Garcias, they don't have proponents necessarily, but they do have Al Haymon, right, as the advisor. So that to me is a question that I still haven't gotten the answer to. Is like, what role does Al Haymon play? I know he's obviously not a traditional promoter in the sense, but does he have any kind of actual like contractual relationship with these fighters, even as an advisor? I don't know, man. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy shit.
I don't think the fighters know, to be honest. So how are we gonna?
Yeah.
All right, and let's move on. I did mention earlier, World Boxing Super Series kind of season 2 or whatever you want to call it, announced bantamweight. So, as I said before, Zolani Tete, Rodriguez, and Burnett have signed up. They've not officially announced the other 2 weights, and I say 2 because last year they had 2 weight classes. This year they're saying they're going to have 3 weight classes. Rumours are 140, and then the other one, I'm not sure, but, through deduction, let's figure it out. It's not going to be heavyweight. They've just had cruiserweights this year. Same with super middleweights, so possibly
They're not going to do 160.
Can our dreams come true with 175?
Possible.
Yeah, that's plausible. It's definitely not 154. It's definitely not 160.
Yep.
It's definitely not welterweight.
Lightweight, possibly.
No. Mikey wouldn't do that. You think Bob Arum would do that too? Come on, bro.
It's interesting though. If we get light heavyweight, that'll be amazing, man.
It makes sense for the Sauerlands to do that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I could see them do that.
Crackhead Sauerlands?
Crackheads?
Or cokeheads.
Dawns.
Yeah, cokeheads.
But it's interesting what's happened to both finals, kind of delayed because of George's shoulder. We're not really getting an answer. They're talking about maybe Eubank replacing George Groves.
That's fucking horrible, man.
I know, that is pretty bad.
I don't understand
Can you
that.
imagine? Holy shit.
But Kimo, like, you're over there in the desert, man. Like, initially it was cruiserweight final was going to be in Saudi Arabia, Garcia versus Usyk. Then one of them gets injured. Then there's talks about, Russia spending big money to get the fight over there, and Usyk doesn't want to do it because of home advantage for Garcia. Man, I don't know, man. For such initial stages of the tournament going so well, like, the finals is getting really messy.
But tournaments are always messy, Cam, and we've seen it with the Super 6 as well back in the day. Like, the thought process around these tournaments is great, because you get predictability in boxing, which is often, not present, right? You want everybody to kind of just logically fight each contender, just like the UFC, because that actually is kind of an indirect tournament structure. The number one fights the number two, et cetera, et cetera. So these tournaments, I like the concept of it, right? But often with injuries and other variables, shit goes a little wrong, right? So that's how you get guys like Alan Green, entering a tournament. So, this was bound to happen, but it doesn't really change for me the overall effort and just the positivity that these tournaments bring. So I'm willing to see through that, and I'm the fact that Eubank is getting this is a little bit leaves a bit of a sour taste in my mouth.
It's not confirmed. It has just been rumored, but we'll have to wait and see what's happening with George.
Yeah, we just don't know at the moment. So George needs to sort his shit out and let everybody know, because I was looking forward to that fight. I really was. I really think it's a good fight, but yeah, it's a shame, man. But it's gonna happen. This always happens with tournaments. There's always shit that goes wrong, and you just gotta adjust and have a step in. You saw it with Smith as well when he fought fucking Nicky Holskin. Like nobody saw that one coming, but it just happens. Crazy shit happens. And you see it in all sports, by the way, man. You see it in all fucking sports. Like tournaments exist in MMA, and they've existed in MMA for long before they started in boxing. And you see just as much crazy shit happening over there. Like just to give you an example, one of the top pound for pound fighters right now was a last minute replacement in a heavyweight tournament and fucking won it. I'm talking about Daniel Cormier, like back in the day. So you never know what happens with this shit. It's always all over the place, and I can imagine as a promoter, it's a nightmare to deal with. So whoever wants to, put up with that, I still give him my respect.
No MMA, bro. No MMA.
That's just an example.
That just remind me of Joe Morgan and the Mystic Men. Anytime you mentioned boxing, he's like, no boxing, bro. No. But
we are the Mystic Men.
Just going back to bantamweights.
Kimo, Joe, and Daniel.
Now you can only play that on the Mystic Men show, so you have to do a show maybe in the next 8 months, if that's possible for you guys. But Jas in the Mixler chat reminded me that Inoue has said that if he beats McDonald, which is a fight coming up soon, he's going to be in the tournament as well. So that's really 4 top names. It's pretty mouth-watering for the bantamweights. We'll see. You guys got anything else to mention about this announcement? It's a bit of a shame that they're kind of like spreading it out. They had a press conference, with Tete was there, and I think Rodriguez was there, and Burnett couldn't make it. But and then like nothing, and in a few weeks they'll have another press conference to mention maybe 140. It's just like, just don't spread it out. Just fucking have it all in one night. No one only got time to go to all this shit and listen to all these separate press conferences. But there you go. Any news you guys want to talk about?
Can we talk about Canelo?
Bro, you spoke about Canelo like enough today, haven't you?
Well, I want to get your thoughts on it, Cam. And on a serious note, I want to get your thoughts on it, because I do think that the man is changing the way things are being done. I think he's going the extra mile. We've seen other guys in the sport piss hot and fucking get away with it and do nothing about it. But Canelo is actually showing that he wants to clean up the sport. So I want to get your thoughts on that.
Bro, all boxers should do it standard. Like, why is it such a big thing that Canelo's doing
That's a terrible argument, bro.
Why?
Yeah, but nobody's doing it.
Everybody, exactly. That's the point. That's why he's asking the question.
Nobody's fucking doing it, but he is. He's doing 365 now.
Bro, the only
he's doing hair tests, which have a historical fucking perspective. They show you what you've done over the last fucking year. Like, who's doing this, bro?
Bro, the only reason he's doing it is, to save face after all the bullshit that's happened, after all the fallout.
That might be, and that's a solid argument, but he's still doing it.
That's fair, but I don't want to argue about money, but he's got the funds to do that shit. A lot of these boxers haven't got the fucking expense to spend on the 24/7 365 testing, man.
I don't think it's an expense issue. I think it's a lot of fighters in the past have just not been willing to do it. And they claim, like Mayweather, for example, they pretend to be fucking, pioneers in drug testing when they're not doing year all round 365 testing.
Bro, some people don't like needles, bro.
The what?
Don't like needles.
Well, that's another story. But yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, but seriously though, do you think Canelo has gained back some credibility, or do you think this is all smokescreen?
I just think it's easy to do this now after the fact, just to kind of save face a bit for me. I think it's a good thing. Like if him doing it will encourage other people to do it, then that's a good thing for the sport. I personally think the people who are using performance-enhancing drugs are so ahead of the testers that they probably never get caught. But
maybe in other sports, but I don't think in boxing.
You don't think?
But no, I don't think boxers use like the top guys unless you're using like a Mema Heredia or Victor Conte. I don't think most boxers have high level sports and nutrition and scientists and people behind them to get past the testing. So, but is it true? Is Canelo the only one that's doing 365?
Donaire did it as well. I'm not sure if he's still doing it. I don't think he is, but those two are the only ones that have done it.
Sure. You know what? For me, I know Chemo's trolling. You can tell Chemo's trolling, Cam.
I'm not,
bro. I know you're not, but you are. The way that you were kind of instigating and poking at my poor Cam, you were kind of trolling him though, because you kept saying "bro" at the end.
That's I think bro-ish, bro.
I know, bro. Too much Baker. But I think for me, it's fine. And yeah, he is doing it because he got caught. Obviously, he wouldn't be doing it if he didn't get caught. But to me, none of this matters. The only thing that matters is that when he does fight Golovkin in September, and in my opinion, once he kind of beats him, I don't know, by a decision or by stoppage somehow, that's when people can't criticize the motherfucker anymore. If he does well against Golovkin, with VADA testing, then got to give him some props. You can't use his negative or his positive test against him, in February. And now that he does VADA 365, you can't detract from any of his accomplishments moving forward as well.
What if he gets iced in dull rounds?
Then you can criticize him all you want, because you can actually even criticize him even more. You can say that, maybe he was using, these PEDs to help him with his chin or stamina, even though I don't believe in those arguments whatsoever.
But that's the thing, right?
The stamina part I do, but the chin part I don't.
But that's the thing, right? He's basically backing himself now into a corner where there's no question anymore regarding, the fight that he's gone into. If he's on some shit, right? If you're doing 365, there is no margin for any bullshit anymore. So, you can criticize his past, and rightfully so. But like you said, going into the next fight, if you're going to call him a juice head, then obviously you haven't done your fucking homework, because based on those facts, you can call anybody a fucking juice head in boxing again, because he's the one that's doing 365 testing. Honestly, by that rationale, everybody could fucking, could be a drug cheat. And a lot of people have said, beating a drug test nowadays or a urine test is like beating an IQ test. Like you have to be a fucking retard not to do it. So I'm just saying, he's the one who's doing it. The majority of the fighters are not. So if he does come out and he beats the shit out of Golovkin or whoever he fights and he wins, you got to give him the credit.
Yeah, bro. If he goes out there and beats Spike O'Sullivan in 2-round dog war, you got to give him credit for that.
You do.
Yeah. No, but that was the biggest kind of takeaway that I had from the whole failed test, and the reason why I was so hurt from it was that I actually thought Canelo did kind of well against Golovkin. I mean, he could have done a lot of things better, obviously, but to me, it just proved that, I thought Canelo, after that performance, even though he lost, in my opinion, in a close fight, I thought Canelo was a better fighter. I just thought he was a more skilled guy. But now, since the positive tests, Canelo criticizers, and fairly so, can say that, he only did that well because of drugs or PEDs or whatnot. But I tend to think that his boxing skills actually were the kind of highlight of that fight. But now that we have this testing in place, I really feel like a future match between Triple G and Canelo will be kind of clean and steered away from all that kind of stuff.
Miera.
So, I love Canelo, man. And this whole thing really fucked up a lot of things, man. The whole domino effect of Canelo's positive test really fucked up a lot of things in the sport. As much as I love my guy.
And I just need to say one thing. It's Shams who's saying Paulie said you can't make it to the top without saying something. Paulie should shut the fuck up. Okay?
Well, that's why Paulie didn't make it to the top. I mean, what I'm saying is that he could use that argument to however which way that he wants. You know, he can say that he never got to the top because he never used it. But at the same time, you don't know that because you never got to the top either, Paulie. So you don't know if these other top guys are using it. But anyways.
He's just a fucking cockroach that needs to shut.
Yeah.
Next topic.
He's a bum.
Any other things you guys want to talk about? I've not got anything.
Do you want to talk about the draft, Daniel?
Sure. Or we can talk about our trip to Asia. If any of our Asian listeners want to, do a meet and greet with the coalition.
Yes. So we will be out in South Korea and Japan in June. So if any of our listeners over there want to meet up, go for some ramen, go for some foodie tours. Sponsored by One Trip. Please reach out. And
if anybody wants to go to a K-pop tour in Itaewon, Seoul, and learn kind of like the conception and the history of K-pop in Seoul, I'll be more than happy to headline that myself.
Dude, I can't wait to see you in your natural habitat.
Bro, it's not my natural habitat.
I know it is. You're going to be really awkward over there. I love it.
No. It's not that. I'm getting better at it. But when I went to South Korea last year, I felt more out of place than any other place I've ever been to in my life. Like it's this weird thing where like your two kind of cultural identities are in conflict with one another, you know, and you don't know which one to kind of like ascribe to at that time period, and it's really kind of frustrating because most people think I'm Korean, which I am obviously, but they also think I speak it perfectly, which I don't. And then my American side wants to go all wild and ratchet, you know, but Koreans are so kind of reserved and respectful, so I can't do that either. So. Anyways, dude, Japan will be sick. Can't wait to go to Japan. We'll go to the Taken gym, go to some of Linares' sweet spots, and talk to Mr. Honda himself and get some training tips, bro.
Yeah, I will go for some sake with Mr. Honda and have us a business conversation. I'm gonna bring my suit. I'm gonna write a proposal and I'm gonna apply for a job, man. Like I wanna take promotions to the next level. So who knows? You and I might start our own business over there.
Neto 17251 in the chat said Brokeback Wall of China.
What did he say?
He said Brokeback Wall of China.
That will probably kind of be a good representation of what's going to happen over there.
It's gonna be sweet, bro. But I died with the dark brunette. Like I couldn't deal with the yellow hair anymore, bro.
Wait, you changed it?
Yeah, I was getting hit on by like 16-year-old girls, bro, and I felt really uncomfortable. So
the fuck is wrong with you, man? I wanted to see that shit in person.
It's like dark brown, so it's still color. It's still colorful, but not as vibrant as it once was.
God damn it, man.
Yeah.
It's got to be
it'll
like
be a good time.
Bleach blonde, bro.
Nah, bro, I can't do that. I'll wear some sick ass headbands though, dude. I already bought some sweet fucking headbands that we can rock. Some Nike.
Are they like red from Sooners style, bro?
Yeah, the white and the red.
I fucking love Baker Mayfield, man.
Yeah.
I can't wait for Hard Knocks HBO. It's gonna be sweet.
All right, bring it back to boxing now. Let's bring it back.
Do we need to do any previews, Cam? Oh, we got fucking fights this weekend, man.
Yeah, man. I'm getting into it, man.
I thought the show was over.
It felt like the show was over, but we haven't even fucking done the previews, bro.
We got 2 hours of previews, bro.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go for it quick. Chemo, Adonis Steven versus Badou Jack on Saturday in Toronto. What do you think?
I can't believe this fight is just around the corner. I'm actually pumped for this fight. I really don't know who to pick. This for me is the battle of age versus shaky chin. Like, I know Bellew has proven himself, and he's a well, I wouldn't say pound for pound, but he's definitely like an elite level fighter these days. But he is fighting, one of the biggest punchers in boxing. But he's also fighting a guy who's aged, whose heart isn't in the sport anymore. And I have questions around his commitment and his fitness and his overall just shape at this age. So I really don't know who to pick, man. But power is one of the last things to go, and Adonis has ways of landing that left hand. And I just don't think that Bellew can take it. But I feel like he's just aged too much where maybe Bellew can pull it off just by being, defensively sound and boxing well. What do you guys think?
I'm picking Adonis.
Hey, I'm the champ.
I mean, I'm rooting for Bellew, obviously. I like Bellew and his story, and he's probably the only like prominent Swedish fighter right now, right?
Plus, we chilled with him in Vegas, bro.
I didn't. You did.
Yeah, me and Vic did.
But I like Bellew, man. I like Bellew. I'll be rooting for Bellew, but I think Adonis clips him.
Yeah, you were hanging out with BJ Flores.
Even though Adonis is approaching 41, first of all, like his style has never really been predicated on his like athleticism, because all he does is throw like 10 punches around. But even in his previous outing, like I was looking at his resume, and his previous 5 to 10 fights, they are shite, but they're not as bad as I remember. So even though his resume hasn't been very good leading up to this fight, I still think he's been active enough to the point where he can still land his left hand. And I know that knockout of Bellew in that first round was a long time ago, but I just don't trust his chin against an elite level puncher at 175.
I think it's a great timing. Like it really is a good timing for this fight.
Absolutely,
it's a crossroads fight. I'm really, really interested in it. What about you?
I thought Adonis would be a big favorite, but he's actually only a minus 125 favorite against Bellew, so it's pretty much close to even, and that's considering hometown advantage.
No, it's a very interesting fight. I either see it being like quick KO for Adonis, maybe in like inside 4. I think if it goes beyond like 6 and 7, it's going to favour Jack, man. I think Jack has definitely improved over the last couple of years. His chin is not as easy to hit anymore, and I just think the inactivity from Adonis is, last couple of years only fighting once a year against lesser opposition, and I don't know, like he's only really got like 2 punches. He throws a jab to the stomach and then tries to throw the left hand to the head, and if you can catch Jack, it's going to be lights out. But I'm slightly favouring Bellew, even though I want to see Bellew iced and Victor Salazar just crying because his boy got iced. But I don't know. I'll probably say
you're rooting for Adonis.
I've always had a soft spot for Adonis, man. Even though he was a pimp back in the day, like
the stretch soft spot against a guy who took advantage of underage women.
Yeah, but
wrong with you, man?
Soft spot as a boxer, man. Not all the shit he did in his personal life, but
come on,
like 2013 when he
bro.
fought like 4 times in that year. He iced Bellew, he iced fucking Dawson. He stopped Cloud, man. Like I was rooting for him, man. And then after that, he just faded, man. Like opposition wasn't that good, and inactivity, and he was calling all the people out, but he wasn't fighting anyone. So, but he did ice Tony Bellew, so that will always go down in my heart. That because Tony just talks too much shit. But if Adonis can get past Bellew, maybe we'll get this fight at 195, Chemo.
Fuck that.
Come on, bro. We need to see Bellew iced again.
I don't know. He might even win this time, man.
Don't say that.
I don't want to see that shit. We keep underestimating Bellew, and he has something, man.
That was the first time I've ever seen Bellew fight was against Adonis.
First time I saw him was against Clev. First fight was fucking nice. Second fight was shit. I think the first fight between him and Clev is very underrated. I think it's a great brawl. Really good war.
Yeah, and the second fight, you couldn't even take a guy out with one arm.
Oh, Christ, it was fucking terrible. Let's move on, Cam.
All right, same night, I think they're going to do a split broadcast. Gary Russell Jr. is facing Jojo Diaz for his to defending his WBC featherweight title. Pretty good fight, Kimo. How do you see it playing out?
Really good fight. Really, really interesting fight. I don't know, man. The battle of the T-Rex arms, it's a bit difficult to predict, to be honest. I don't trust Gary Russell. I really don't. I think he's got talent, obviously, but I don't really trust him as a fighter. I like Jojo decently enough to pick him, I think. And plus, we saw him hit the mitts in Vegas, so I'm going to go with Jojo.
You did?
Yeah, we did, man. Me and Cam.
Did he look pretty sweet?
Yeah, he's got some pop in it.
Yeah?
Yeah, we were just chilling it was an MGM Grand Lobby. He was doing some mitt work.
Bro, I just completely forgot. We got to support Jojo because that's Cali Babe, Venice Mentality's favorite fighter.
Of course, bro.
Venice Babe.
We're laying out.
We out here, man.
We out here, you know what I'm saying? No, it was awesome, man. I did the one pose with the golden line, obviously, and afterwards. Yeah, of course, bro.
Did you do the double one pose or just one pose?
It was only one, you know.
Okay, I gotcha.
I've done the double one when I had the bandana on. That was different. That was next level shit.
Jojo's quite a lot bigger than Gary Russell.
Is he? Is he a bit stockier?
Yeah, I'm looking at the weigh-ins right now. He's not that ripped, but it's all right. He looks okay.
What do you think, Lim?
My heart says Jojo, but my head says Gary Russell. So I'm gonna pick Russell by Jesus. I don't know. It's been so long since I've seen Russell fight. Is Russell a pretty active body puncher, Cam?
No.
He's
got glass hands, bro.
He's kind of a headhunter.
I gotcha. Jesus Christ, man. This fight is fascinating too, man. We have some good fights this weekend. I'm gonna go with Jojo, man. I like Jojo's constant pressure to the body, but he didn't look all that great against the dude that he fought in the Canelo Triple G undercard either. Was it Terrazas that he fought?
Rivera, I think it was.
Rivera. Terrazas must have been the fight before. Jesus, man, I don't know, guys. I'll pick Diaz Jr. just because he's a little cuter, but that's all.
I'm picking Gary Russell, even though I'm a fan of Jojo. I just
fuck, man, Cam. We watched it together, bro.
Sorry, bro. I gotta go with my head. I'm a bit like Lim, man. It's like Jojo with the heart, but Gary Russell with the head. I think speed and power-wise, I don't think Jojo's seen anyone like Gary Russell so far. And I think
he definitely hasn't.
I think he's going to struggle with just adjusting himself to someone with fast hands. So I don't know. I think Jojo might even get stopped. You know.
Dude, Gary Russell didn't even look in his eyes at the weigh-in, man. I think he's fucking toast. I think Diaz has got this.
Stop doing what I used to do, bro.
Dude, did you see Diaz shadow boxing Lim at the weigh-in?
And he bumped into him a little bit too.
Fucking hyped up, flexing, while Gary Russell is just looking like a fucking retard. He has a weird face.
I like those yellow track pants too, bro. I definitely wear those.
Yeah. Jojo's got this for show. He's gonna hit that for show.
All right, Kimo, moving on to Leeds, same night.
My boy.
Oh. Ellen Road Stadium. Yep.
You remember the days where I used to fucking be so hyped about the potential of this fight, and I used to say, like, oh, this is happening. I'm definitely coming to Leeds for this shit.
What happened, bro?
He signed with Warren, bro.
Oh, so if it was Matchroom, you would have went?
If this was a Matchroom fight, this would be absolutely massive, but there is no hype for this. How many people do you think are going to show up?
Football fans, what about 20k, 30k maybe?
No, for real?
I think so.
I'm not too sure about that.
Maybe I'm just completely off.
I don't sense any hype for this fight, man. You're in that neck of the woods, so maybe you know better than me. But I'm not sensing any fucking hype.
I agree. I don't really sense hype within the boxing community. But if he's tapped into those football fans and reasonable price tickets, they'll. Especially the weather here, the last few weeks has been beautiful, man. So a day out at the football stadium watching boxing, I think they would sell quite well.
Marching on together. That's going to be fun, though.
But what about the fight, though?
I predict a riot, pun intended.
But what about the fight?
The fight? Dude, Warrington looks fucking jacked at the weigh-in. He looks absolutely shredded to bits. I think it's going to suck. To be honest, I don't think it's a good fight. Stylistically, I just don't think it works. I think it's one guy who's a flashy combination puncher who thinks he's slick but isn't really that slick. And then there's another guy who's just a workhorse but can't punch either. I think there's just going to be a lot of nothing for 12 rounds. Probably Selby's going to win. But I don't know. I hope Warrington wins. I don't like Selby anymore, man. He acts like he's fucking accomplished something in life, and he really hasn't. All he's done is fucking, beaten Gradovic and gotten fucking schooled from time to time by Montiel. Like, I don't know. He just doesn't do it for me. I think he's vastly overrated, and he seems to think he's a lot better than he is. I like the fire in Warrington, but he's just not good enough, man. I'm not sure if he can beat him.
What do you think, Lemmy? Do you even care?
No, I've never seen the Warrington fight. I don't know what he looks like. So I'm going to have to go with Selby.
Dude, I just got to... Sorry, go on, Cam.
No, I think it's going to be a kind of one-sided fight for Selby, to be honest. He's going to be on the back foot. Warrington's going to be come forward. Like, I got high on Warrington at one point, but I thought he kind of regressed a bit and went a bit backwards. So I think it's kind of going to be like a, I don't know, 9-3, 10-2 almost fight for Selby.
Wow.
The crowd's not going to be happy, but we shall see.
Mm-hmm. What else is on this weekend?
That's about it for this weekend. Undercard's pretty trash for that.
What the fuck?
Lim trying to get his sound bites.
No good undercard fights?
Nope. Friday 25th of May, Chemo. Jamie McDonald's over in Japan fighting Naoya Inoue. What did you think of that fight? I think that's a good fight, man.
I think Inoue stops him.
You think so?
Yes.
I don't know.
I believe in Inoue, and I missed him, man. I want to see him back.
I think when like McDonald's the kind of B side, and when he's got no pressure on him, I think he kind of performs a bit better.
Shit, so what the fuck are you watching? It sounds like a horror movie.
Yeah.
Sorry,
guys.
McDonald.
By the way, Lim, as a random note, I just saw a tweet from Venice Babe saying, "You know where to find me this weekend at Joseph Diaz Jr. #boyfriend #hearts."
Oh no! I'm getting.
It is lit, bro.
I'm so cringing. I'm cringing so hard right now, dude. Oh no. Yeah, my
anyway, continue, Cam.
Yeah, back to McDonald. I think he struggles against people like, Laborious Elise, where the guy's a pressure fighter trying to get on the inside, sit on his chest. But in a way, he doesn't really fight like that. He kind of fights like mid-range. So I could see McDonald having like success where he just keeps in a way on the outside and, jab, backhand. And I think in a way he would probably win it, but I don't think it's going to be an easy fight for him. Lim doesn't care, so should we move on?
Yeah, go on.
May 26th, Joan Ancas returns against Jonas Sultan, and Kal Yafai is fighting David Kimona in the States, in Fresno. Ancas, I've seen him a few times, basically beat up Jamie Conlon, and he's got he's performed pretty well in other fights, and it's a weird one. Yafai is fighting a former opponent of Inoue, and he's fought other people as well. Carlos Cudras, and I think he got stopped by Omar Narvaez as well. But it's a weird one. Unless Ancas and... It must be a situation where Ancas and Yafai are going to fight next if they're fighting on the same card. So hopefully both get through their fights and we see them fighting each other pretty soon. Because that's the only reason I could see it, making sense. It's on the Top Rank Matchroom co-promoted card on ESPN Plus, so we'll see.
Yeah, I know that dude that Ancajas is fighting. I think he has 12 wins, 3 losses, so it's going to be an easy night for Ancajas.
Kimo, any opinion?
Cool.
Hashtag I am your fi, bruh. That's all I gotta say.
Wednesday, June 6th is a JD Next Gen card. It's got Lomasexuals versus Luke Watkins. It's not a bad fight, actually. I've seen Watkins on Channel 5 before, but he's not...
Cam is a fucking machine, dude.
You're fucking reaching, bro. But go on, I love it. Keep going.
I've been seeing him hurt a few times, so I think Accolades will probably stop him.
Shit, Curly, bruh.
What else? Saturday, June 9th at the MGM. Lemmy, what do you think of finally getting to Jeff Horn versus Terence Crawford, man? It's been
That's June 9th? That's a double header? Are you serious? So they got that card, and then they got the Mares card on the same night?
Yep.
What the fuck?
Man, fuck them, mate.
Terrible, mate. Oh, Jesus Christ, man. I don't have any opinion on that fight. Terrence by stoppage.
Kimo?
Dude. I mean, let me put it this way, okay? In a week time, we have on Showtime the bipolar rock and roller documentary coming out on Mauro Ranallo. I am more hyped for that than this fight.
Yeah, this fight's just lost a lot of steam, especially after that injury, and the fact that not many people were kind of hyped for it in the first place. So the sooner it's over, the better.
Right. Again, Terence Crawford, such an exciting guy to watch. You know, like I just want to see him in big fight, and he's fighting a fucking boom like Jeff Horn. I hope he fucks him up. I hope he honestly fucking lays him out and clatters his off the canvas. That's what I hope.
As Lim alluded to, same night as Leo versus Abner Mares, and another fight we didn't really need or want. But what do you think, Kimo?
Sorry, what fight was that?
Leo Santa Cruz versus Abner Mares rematch at the.
Are these fuckers fighting again? God damn it!
Yeah.
I got Santa Cruz all fucking day. I just think he's on the. You know, he's growing as a fighter, whereas Abner Mares is shot to bits mentally, but can still kind of hang in there.
Why do you think Abner's shot to bits? I'd disagree, man.
Mentally, not physically. Mentally.
In what sense? Where would he break down?
I just don't think he's that same guy anymore. He used to be a fucking fantastic, almost pound for pound level fighter, and you know, he just got his soul snatched, and then he just went up in weight and. I don't know. He's just to me, he doesn't have a purpose in boxing anymore. He's just fighting. He's just not the same. I just have no interest in watching him anymore. The fire's gone. The accomplishments are gone. Like the aspirations to be elite level are gone. I just think what's his face Gonzalez just has a soul.
What do you think, Lemmy?
Plus his fights aren't that good anyway. So I don't really care.
What do you think, Lim?
Yeah, I don't care either, man. I really do not care. I mean, I'd go, honestly, bro, if I was in LA at the time and not in Korea, I would go to that fight, but I would leave right after the Charlo fight to beat the traffic. This fight makes no sense to me whatsoever. I don't know, why are they doing this fight? Like, who's clamoring for this fight? Makes no sense, man.
Cam is, but he's the only one.
Nah, man, I hate this fight as well. Like I've always said, like this is a rematch no one wanted. I would prefer fresh fights where maybe Leo fights Guy Russell, or you know, we've seen it before. The first one wasn't much of a memorable fight, so it's unnecessary. But regarding Charlo versus Trout, Lim, the fight you would stay for if you were able to attend, what do you think?
I think the only way Jamal does well in this fight is if he knocks out Trout. That's it.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Even like a really good, like a 10-2 decision type of victory wouldn't really do anything for me. So he's kind of in a loser situation. It's really not that bad of a fight if you think about it, just because Jamal struggled a lot with Trout in their first fight. So I'm telling you, man, Jamel and Jamal, like, they're nowhere near perfect fighters. I mean, Jamel was getting his ass whooped by Jackson before he knocked his ass out with that weird punch as he was turning around. But I want to see Jamel be a more kind of technical fighter and learn how to place his shots off of his jab a little bit better. And I think Trout's a really tricky guy to kind of land that clean against, especially considering the fact that he's a southpaw. So I think it's a decent fight, man. I'm interested to see it technically.
What do you think, Kimo?
I think Trout, and I've always said it, is an incredibly overrated fighter. I think there's a difference between being technically proficient and being a challenging fighter to deal with than just being a fucking ugly fighter who turns every fight into a boring shit fest. And that's what most of the time what Mr. No Doubt Trout does. I don't really give a fuck that he's a nice guy or not. I don't like watching him in the ring. And he's had maybe like one fight where he was okay to watch. I forgot who it was against. There was one fight where he kind of threw combinations. All the other fights, it's like, Trout has such a great jab. He said, no, he doesn't. Because that's the only fucking thing he does. All he does is fucking be awkward and jab, okay? That doesn't make you a technically great fighter. The people that think he's some sort of fucking, like, technical mastermind, shut the fuck up, honestly.
I don't think anybody thinks that anymore.
I've heard so many people say that, honestly.
But for me, it's like, I agree he's not technically proficient. But I think this is where you and I disagree a little bit, is that I actually feel like being difficult and being challenging is actually a skill in and of itself, just being awkward. So I'm curious to see how Jamel responds to that. But this really doesn't do anything for me either. I just like to see Jamel and his pretty hair, and that's pretty much it, man. And here is post-fight interviews, bro. You dick.
I hope he sleeps Trout.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. And I hope he calls out Lubin.
And then just fucking goes crazy in the ring, and then Jamal hops in with a steel chair and ices something. That would be fucking epic.
Undercard wise, it does say pending.
He should fucking hit Jim Gray with a steel chair.
Yeah, I fucking hate
Ask
Jim
him if
Gray
he's
so
okay.
much. you know, this is what I always think about when I rewatch the Lubin interview. It's like, I wanted Lubin, when he got knocked out and Jim Gray asked him how he was doing, I wanted Lubin to say, "I'm good. Is he okay?" Can you imagine just the back and forth? Oh shit, Cam, are you good? You okay? Is your boy Lubin still up, bro?
Pending approval on the box rec says Adrian Granados versus Javier Fortuna should be on this undercard as well.
Are you changing the subject, bro?
If it is, that should be a pretty good fight. Both guys, Fortuna's a kind of back foot fighter mostly, but he does come forward at times. But Granados is a front forward dude, so it should be a fun fight.
Granados,
Granados. Same night in Manchester, Terry Flanagan's fighting for the vacant WBO 140-pound belt against Maurice Hooker on the undercard of Tyson Fury coming back against the TBA. Still not announced the opponent. Pretty shitty that, but there you go. Saturday 16th. Saturday, June 16th, we have a lesser version of Erickson Lubin. Errol Spence Jr. fighting Carlos Uncampo. And Devin Alexander fighting Andre Berto, man. Who wanted to see that shit, man?
Who the fuck is Uncampo?
Mandatory, bro. Mandatory. Undefeated. Mexican 22-0.
I want to see Errol Spence fight these kind of people, man.
Be mandatory, bro.
Hey, man. You changed the fucking subject, but I wanted to talk about Charlo a little bit more, man.
Go ahead.
Lim, what's better? Is it actually Charlo or Jamal actually saying, like, "I'm good," or is it the expression on his face?
It's the expression with the glasses, bro.
Yeah, the glass.
Yeah. And the fact that how quick his response is. It's his response and just how fucking tense he is, bro.
Yeah.
His eyes are just like lit up to 1,000. And you notice when Jamel or Jamal get pissed off, like they always look to the side.
They don't even acknowledge.
So they're standing up and then they're tilting their head a little bit to the left, and then they got that little grin. and then their eyes are just burning, man, with flames and passion, and it's so fucking. I love it, but they're on 100. I love that shit. You dig?
You dig?
It was beautiful, man. I love that shit.
Hey, coach, keep running your fucking mouth.
Tell him read your shirt, coach. Okay, my bad, Cam.
What were we talking about, Cam?
No, that's it. Previews are done. Anything else you guys have got?
No, Cam, you are right, dude. After this week, it is a really shit week of fights, isn't it?
After this week, yeah, the next kind of 3 to 4 weeks is pretty dry.
Yeah.
Cam, since I was not on the show, can we talk about a little bit about Khan and his comeback?
Stronger.
Because I don't feel like you guys talked enough about it. I think you were sitting at home, and I think you were skeptical, and I think you were angry, and I think you're depressed, or you think, this fucking fight is going to be shit, and Khan is not in, his heart is not in boxing anymore. And then you saw that epic fucking entrance, and you saw that intensity in Khan's eyes, and then he comes out with this fucking machine gun fire combination, and I think you had a little, I don't know, man. I think you had a little fucking orgasm in your head, and you realized that man is fucking back. But how did it feel, Cam?
You know what the problem is, though?
What?
Le Greco is fucking shite.
That might be, Cam, but didn't you get that feeling a little bit back from when he beat up that who was that fucking Eastern European champion that he beat? The feather-fisted guy. Saliva or Dimitri Salida?
Yeah, Salida.
Yeah, he fucking beat him up also in one round. I got a flashback from that shit, man. Just these fucking machine gun fire combinations, man. It was absolutely brilliant. And nobody's done that to Le Greco, bro.
Not even the lesser version of...
Come on, Cam, just admit it. You felt like you were back in...
I did enjoy it, man. Like, when he came out, and like the Liverpool crowd were excellent, man. And when Khan fights, there's always that excitement because like he can do well or he can get iced, and like you're always on a kind of knife edge.
I know. I was so pumped, bro. I think Hearn's gonna do big things with him, and he's just, you know, the whole jungle thing made him a star, and it's gonna be epic, man. He's gonna be on some big cards. I can't wait.
He's gonna fight Errol Spence.
No. The Kell Brook fight's gonna get made. It's gonna get made. It'll be a bit late. It'll be a bit late in their careers, but it'll get made, and it's gonna be massive, man.
Massive.
And if they do it in Manchester, we should probably come down for that shit, man.
In Sheffield.
Sheffield. Yeah. But
does the fight take place at 150, 151, 152, 149?
I think Kelly needs to come down, 147.
Bro, do you know that Phil LaGreco has a YouTube channel?
He does?
Called The Culinary Fighter.
He's a cook?
Yeah, and there's an episode with Chris Algieri, and Algieri teaches him how to cut an avocado.
Oh, I think I've seen that on YouTube. Yeah, Algieri is beasting these days, man. As a trainer, as a nutritionist, he's really coming up in the ranks. I think he's the next Freddie Roach. He's
Speaking of Freddie, man, what do you think about Manny just ghosting my boy? Not even letting him know that he was cut from the team, bro.
I don't understand. I think Boo Boy is a terrible padman, and I don't think it works well. He should have been loyal to Freddie, man. It's I just don't understand it. But yeah, there you go. Manny's maybe not as nice as we always thought he was.
Yeah, bro. That's it for me, Cam. Anything else?
Nothing from me. Chemo, anything?
Should we field some questions from the chat?
Nah, I'm pretty tired, bro.
Yeah, we can do a little Q&A for about 30 minutes, kind of like after the beat, you know?
Yeah,
what about 5 minutes?
There's only like 5 people in the chat, though, so...
That's not true, bro. I see at least 8.
Yeah, but then, like, 3 of us, that's the...
I wonder who Steve Kim is. I mean, it really doesn't seem to be the real Steve Kim, but he seems to talk a lot of bullshit in the chat. Sounds to me like a fucking faggot.
Does he remind you of anyone that you know?
I don't know, but if I would see him in the street, man, I would throw down with him.
I heard he's going like Korea and Japan and stuff.
Really?
Do you know it took a long time for people to actually know that it was Steve Kim? But the best was when I was host Laird Dwyer. You guys remember that phase?
Yeah.
He was just a racist asshole.
No, he wasn't. I was always made sure that I wasn't racist, man.
You were always talking shit about Asians and blacks and shit. Like, it was just...
Yeah, against Asians, I was fucking racist because I am Asian. But yeah, those were the golden days, man. You remember when TBV was on Mixler? Those were the golden days, bro.
Those were the greatest days. We got a question from Steve K, man. Who is the sexiest pound-for-pound fighters? Wow.
Linares?
That's difficult.
Easy. Canelo, Linares.
And Linares was until he quit. I mean, that was a bit beta of him to do.
Yeah.
I think King Rai is definitely up there. We just can't deny it, even though his appeal is just to another demographic, bro.
Sure, that's what I know. I like thick dudes. You know what I mean? Like, I like them thick and muscular. Like, King Rai's too skinny for me, man.
Yo, would you guys consider Loma as being sexy?
No, his body is just weird, man. Like I told you.
I like his eyes, though. He's got those nice piercing blue eyes.
Yeah, he does. I'll give you that. I mean, the Charlos. I like my bad boys. So Jermel and Jamal are definitely up there. Ooh, this is a fun question. Who would you rather, Jermel or Jamal?
I like Jamal better.
Yeah. Just because of his laid back demeanor.
Yeah, he's more laid back. I know he definitely smokes weed, so, you know.
Yeah.
Plus his voice is a little bit deeper as well.
That is true, man. So, like, if you had to go to Napa Valley for a weekend, you know, like some wine tasting out in the hills, you'd rather take Jamal with you.
For wine tasting? I wouldn't take either of the Charlos.
Who would you take? Jorge?
Who would I take? Let me think.
Don't think too much, bro.
That's a good question. Who would you take for wine? It has to be somebody who's a little bit, like, you know. I'd probably take Chris Algieri, maybe. You know, he's a bit more knowledgeable, and I could have a real conversation with him.
He's a trainer, bro. He's excluded.
Yeah, but he did give Khan one of the hardest fights, bro. He walked him down. I don't know. I've always liked Algieri. Who would you take, Cam, apart from Amir Khan?
No, I'm not answering this question. This is a bullshit answer. A question.
Hey, Netta from the chat said take.
Davis. Stavern is not a good one. Yeah, I would go.
Oh shit! Can you imagine just talking about red wines and grapes and shit with take?
Yeah, the chat just became alive again.
Just Chardonnay, like take. What do you think about the Chardonnay and the earthy flavors? Oh, that's enough, man. Even this is too much for me. I'm sorry, Cam, for leaving.
I would take Deontay Wilder probably because he'll give me not emotional, like philosophical fucking speeches about if you can dream it, you know, you can do it, and I'll be like yes, and take another sip of the wine.
I think I'd take my cousin A.B. Hahn. That would be a good time.
In all honesty, though, you know who would probably be really fun to take? I think Spike O'Sullivan would probably show you a really good time.
Yeah?
No lie.
Yeah, he'd probably rough me up a little bit.
A little bit, but that's what the Irish do, yeah. Okay. Do we have any other questions in the chat?
Our chat.
Oh, wait. Eunice83 says, why is Cam such a faggot? Well, that's just uncalled for, bro.
Are we done?
I like him. I think so, man. We don't have any questions from the chat, bro. They're just flying. They're coming so fast. I can't even read the questions, dude.
Wow. All right. Thank you, Lim. Thank you, Chemo. Thanks to all the people in the Mixer chat and all the people that download the show. We'll be back in a month. Peace.
You just listened to the Boxing Coalition.
Oh, dude, man, I love boxing. I fucking love boxing.
A big shout out to the Boxing Coalition.
You're a newbie.
No, I ain't new, man.
If my fucking next door neighbour became the #1 flyweight in the world, you know what I'd do? I'd fucking walk past the cunt.
Derek, how you doing, bro?
I was physically bun you, blood?
I disagree.
First time I hear the show, man, it was fucking badass.
Vamos Argentina, la concha de su madre.
I see the bomb in them.
I get home and she's like, what the fuck? Me and the kid are here. Why don't you get home and talk to us? I'm like, man, you guys don't know shit about boxing.
Kel, how does it feel to be the new IBF champion?
Feels great. Feels great.
Did we really dive into the black hole right off the jump?
I think he's hiding glass. Just to play devil's advocate.
You want one portion of crow or two portions of crow?
Give me 2 portions with a supersized fries and a large drink, please.
I can't stand him, what? I'm Scottish.
Cringe side? But you won't rush Anthony fucking fat ass Joshua, would you?
He's not fat.
How about you tell us what you weigh for your final thoughts?
My weight?
Thank you for listening to the Boxing Coalition.